Chapter 898, Apologize and Make Amends, Beast Taming Sioux Family. What's the occasion for this gift? In the grand hall, the faces of everyone present showed a trace of shock upon hearing the words of the ancestor of the Jin family. The arrival of the Jin family's ancestor today had already surprised everyone in the hall, making them sense that there was a significant implication behind it. Now that he had brought a gift and insisted that Lu Changxing open it on the spot, there was definitely something fishy going on. Could there be some kind of assassin's tool hidden inside the gift? Some speculated silently among the crowd. After all, in the Jianghu country cultivation realm, the ways to set a deadly trap were too numerous to count, and even a foundation establishment cultivator could easily fall victim if they were not careful. However, this person immediately dismissed the idea. This place was Blue Lake Mountain. If the Jin family's ancestor dared to do such a thing, it would mean a complete fallout with Blue Lake Mountain. Even if Lu Changxing was set aside, once the Blue Lake Mountain Great Formation was activated, it was likely that the Jin family's ancestor himself would suffer greatly, if not die. At the very least he would be badly injured. In this moment, everyone's eyes turned to Lu Changxing, curious to see what he would do, how he would respond. Hong Lian, Lu Changxing also wanted to know what tricks the Jin family's ancestor was up to. He consulted Hong Lian, who was in the ancient beast-taming charm inside his sleeve. Although Hong Lian only had a soul, its divine sense was very keen, able to perceive many things he could not. Simultaneously, Lu Changxing secretly communicated with Mount Sumeru. If this old fart dared to harbor any ill intentions, then he would immediately activate the Great Formation to suppress him. Young master, it seems to be some kind of heavenly and earthly treasure inside, with no prohibitory mechanisms. The voice of Hong Lian resonated in Lu Changxing's mind. A treasure? Hearing this, Lu Changxing was surprised. Could it be that this old man really came to give a gift? Assured that Mount Sumeru was already remotely sensing and locking onto the location from Baiyun Peak, he spoke with a chuckle. Oh, in this case, the gift from Elder Jin seems to be quite extraordinary. Since that's the case, let someone open it here and see. Lu Changxing said this. As he spoke, he gently touched the jade box, inducing it to open by itself, revealing its content. Inside was a walnut-sized, pitch-black, diamond-shaped crystal stone that glimmered with a hazy sheen. The crystal stone seemed to possess life, pulsing and exhaling while water seemed to flow automatically within it, emanating a wave of cold air. What is? Suddenly, everyone in the hall turned their attention to the crystal stone in the jade box. Several foundation establishment cultivators were visibly moved, gazing greedily at the crystal stone. Young master, this is the profound water-cold crystal, a core formation spiritual object. It can increase the chance of core formation by almost half, and it can also be used to temper true elixirs. Worried that Lu Changxing might not recognize the crystal stone, Hong Lian conveyed this message to Lu Changxing. A core formation spiritual object, the profound water-cold crystal? Lu Changxing looked at the jade box in his hand, his eyes narrowed slightly. He had not expected that this old fart really came to their door to present a gift. And to offer such a valuable gift at that. A core formation spiritual object. Through these years of seeking externally for core formation spiritual objects, he had come to understand their preciousness and rarity. In the Jianghu country cultivation realm, an ordinary cultivator might still have hope of obtaining a foundation establishment elixir, as they occasionally appeared in the market. But a coagulation crystal elixir used to aid in core formation would almost never appear in the market. Even if one were to coincidentally gather the materials needed to make a coagulation crystal elixir. Apart from the great immortal sects and the guest elders and noble servants of the immortal cities, no one could make a coagulation crystal elixir. That's why there are so few loose cultivators and family clan members who can achieve core formation in the Jianghu country cultivation realm. For loose cultivators, achieving core formation was exceedingly difficult. They could only travel around various nations seeking fortune or rely on core formation spiritual objects to chance upon the extremely slim possibility of forming a core. This also made the core formation spiritual objects that could improve one's chances of core formation rare and expensive. Many loose cultivators and family forces were willing to pay any price for a core formation spiritual object. After all, once they make the breakthrough into core formation, they could enjoy a lifespan of 500 years and could call themselves ancestors. Elder Jin's gift is far too precious. Lu Changxing looked at the ancestor of the Jin family, speaking with a calm expression. He was not clear about the other party's purpose of offering such a gift. This gift is not only to congratulate Lu Mountain Lord on your happiness but also to apologize to Lu Mountain Lord for the incident on White Tiger Mountain. The Jin family ancestor said playfully, taking a sip from his wine jug. The affair on White Tiger Mountain was unknown to my Jin family, and it was because of the imprudence of my descendants that we inadvertently caused friction between our two families. That's why on this trip, along with bringing him to address this matter in person, I wanted him to apologize to Lu Mountain Lord face to face, hoping to dissolve the enmity between our two families. The voice of the Jin family ancestor boomed. As he spoke, he glanced at Jin Zan beside him. Have you not yet apologized to Lu Mountain Lord? Hiss. 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 At this moment, everyone in the venue was shocked, stunned. They had never expected that the ancestor of the Jin family had come not to seek retaliation, but to offer an apology. Not only offering an incredibly precious core formation spiritual object, but also having Jin Zan, the great elder of the Jin family and a future core formation cultivator with a status much higher than almost all present, personally apologize to Lu Changxing. That was simply unthinkable. To think that Jin Zan, as a great elder of the Jin family with the potential for core formation and a status higher than almost all the cultivators present, could be offering an apology to Lu Changxing. Could it be that the rumors that the combined force of the Lu couple is comparable to that of a false core, and together with Lu Changsheng's talisman formation, they can suppress a false core immortal, are not rumors but the truth? That's why Elder Jin has brought Jin Zan here to apologize. Considering the power of Blue Lake Mountain's Lu family, it seems that they might pose a greater threat than Golden Dragon Ridge. I had previously thought that, as long as we take out one member of the Lu couple while they are apart, the crisis would resolve itself. But if the rumors are true, the threat posed by the Lu couple might be even greater than that of Golden Dragon Ridge. If tens of years later, the Lu couple both break through to Foundation establishment late stage, they might be as powerful as those in core formation. At this moment, all the cultivators present were awestruck, a wave of speculation running through their minds. Chapter 899, Apology, Beast Taming Sioux Family. However, cultivators like Ling Zixiao, who knew the inside story, roughly guessed the Jin family's purpose. They wanted to both promote and kill, to completely eliminate Lu Changxing and by Lake Mountain, to lift it high and solidify the rumors from the outside world. Even if they couldn't solidify the rumors, considering today's events, the external interest in By Lake Mountain would likely rise another level. Lu Mountain Lord, regarding the previous matter at White Tiger Mountain, Jin Zan, was wrong. Greed took over me because of the benefits given by the Zhao family, and I ask for your forgiveness, Jin Zan said, suppressing the rage in his heart as he bowed to Lu Changxing. If it weren't for the family patriarch's emergence from seclusion and the severe reprimand he had received. With his proud nature, he would never have lowered his face to apologize. But he understood that the patriarch was doing this for his own good. His smooth journey thus far had led to arrogance. The defeat at the hands of Lu Changxing was a hurdle he couldn't get over, affecting his core formation. If that was the case, he could only face his inner self, break and then stand, in order for him to break through his mental state and reach core formation. And through this method, he wanted to reclaim his life-bound spiritual artifact from Lu Changsheng's hands. Otherwise, without this life-bound spiritual artifact, his chances of breaking through to core formation in the future would be affected. Lu Changxing watched the scene, staying silent. He roughly knew what the Jin family's purpose was. The rumors about him in the outside world likely originated from the Jin family. Now, by presenting him with this core formation spiritual object, they probably wanted to further uplift his status and solidify the rumors. And inform the outside world that he, Lu Changxing, possessed a core formation spiritual object, making him the target of other loose cultivators and family forces. Then there was Jin Zan's apology. As long as he accepted it and took away the opponent's life-bound spiritual artifact, he would naturally have to return it. In such a situation, with such a stance, if he Mr. Lu, did not reconcile and return the spiritual artifact, it would make him appear petty and vindictive, not giving face to the Jin family. Not even giving face to the false core patriarch. What would other families think if they knew? Other false core families might think Lu Changxing to be arrogant and presumptuous. A stratagem in the open. This was a blatant stratagem. Such bold moves in this stratagem were indeed extraordinary. Actually spending a core formation spiritual object, just to make Jin Zan apologize in person. Unless they thought he wouldn't dare accept the core formation spiritual object and were showing weakness. But faced with such an arrangement, even if he didn't accept it, the opponent's genuine appearance of apology meant he had to return the life-bound spiritual artifact. Indeed, the old ginger is spicier. The ancestor of Jin family is using this method to further push our by Lake Mountain into the limelight and by doing so, draw attention to Golden Dragon Ridge, Lu Changxing muttered to himself. If his family had been an ordinary foundation establishment family, they might indeed be worried in such a situation. But when he made his move on Jin Zan, he had already considered the consequences. What if his tree attracted the wind? If anyone dared to look for trouble, he would, like he did when facing Jin Zan, make an example of them, kill the chicken to warn the monkeys, and solidify his reputation for defeating a false core with talisman formations. After all, sometimes a reputation isn't entirely a bad thing. With such a reputation, it would be enough to deter the other families and prevent them from harboring bad intentions. His early reputation worried him that it might attract the covetousness of others. But now, with his current reputation, how many would dare to covet it? Enough to deter most of the petty thieves, and allow the family to develop securely. Moreover, his family was strong but not overbearing, and by developing securely, they could also show the dignity and style of the family, laying the foundation for future reputation and goodwill. Heh, the ancestor of Jin family is being too courteous. It was all a misunderstanding, once explained, it's all clear. Originally, I, Lu someone, was going to visit you after taking care of the affairs to clear things up. I didn't expect that the ancestor of Jin family would take the initiative to come here. You truly are a man of openness and magnanimity, Lu Changxing said politely. In his words, he naturally placed the profound water-cold crystal into his storage ring. Then he took out a golden weapon, part spear, part Dao, and spoke. Daoist Jin left in a hurry that day, forgetting to take this artifact. Today, it shall be returned to its original owner. Since the opponent had done so, he, Lu Changxing, would openly tell others that he not only defeated Jin Zan, the great elder of the Jin family, but also took his life-bound spiritual artifact. Shoo, that seems to be the life-bound spiritual artifact of the great elder of the Jin family, the Golden Dragon Square Halberd. Never thought that even the life-bound spiritual artifact would be taken by Lu Mountain Lord. No wonder the ancestor of Jin family brought Jin Zan to apologize. The life-bound spiritual artifact is connected to one's life. Once lost, it takes who knows how many years to nurture anew, which could delay his attempt at core formation. However, Lu Mountain Lord is truly magnanimous. Although the Jin family is polite, they are duplicitous, yet he simply and openly took out this life-bound spiritual artifact. The rumors say that Lu Changxing is a man of loyalty and righteousness, and now it seems that he indeed acts with integrity. He does not provoke others, and as long as you don't offend by Lake Mountain, we should be able to coexist in peace. Everyone in the hall watched this unfold, each silently calculating. But a few people also had their minds on the core formation spiritual object that Lu Changxing had just put into his storage bag. This Lu Changxing is really not simple. Does he really have the confidence, or, the ancestor of Jin family saw Lu Changxing calmly accept his core formation spiritual object and then took out the Golden Dragon Square Halberd, his heart skipping a beat, somewhat unexpected. After all, Lu Changxing's initiative to take out the spiritual artifact indicated he saw through the intentions. But in such a situation, he still dared to accept the core formation spiritual object. He didn't ponder long, turning to Jin Zan with a cold huff. Jin Zan, have you not thanked Lu Mountain Lord enough? Thank you, Lu Mountain Lord. Chapter 900, Apologize and Make Amends, Beast Taming Sioux Family. Jin Zan spoke up, but his voice was devoid of any sincerity. instantly making Lu Changsheng's actions look superior. Most people in the room could guess why Jin Zan behaved this way. It was because they knew without thinking that this core formation spiritual object was most likely prepared by the Jin family for Jin Zan. At this moment, it would be a ghostly occurrence for him to be in a good mood. Hee, Daoist Jin, you are too kind. Lu Changsheng smiled and did not take the other party's attitude to heart. After all, he was just a mere jumping clown. He looked around at everyone present and announced with a laugh, "Come now, let's continue, drink up." In the hall, the guests clinked cups and toasts were made in lively succession. During the break, Lu Changsheng, the groom, walked out of the great hall with a cup in hand to toast and greet the guests from inside and outside the villa. In this process, one by one, the coy and charming women looked at Lu Ancestor with silk-like seductive eyes, almost dripping water. Faced with this, Lu Changsheng silently shook his head. He thought to himself that sometimes too much charm can be a problem. He made no particular response. After all, though Mr. Lu took concubines with a purpose, he still spent considerable time accompanying and taking responsibility for them. Now, having to manage 15 concubines was already taking up much of his time and energy. Moreover, he didn't even know the family backgrounds or spiritual root talents of these many women in the room. As for beauty alone, to the Lu Ancestor, who had seen countless experiences and had been through all sorts of trials, it was hard to catch his eye. Now, only if status, temperament, and abilities complemented beauty, could they slightly move Lu Ancestor's heart. After the toasts were over, as night fell, Lu Changsheng naturally started his duties as the groom. However, having too many concubines at once could lead to an exhausted Lu Changsheng, who might find himself overwhelmed. Faced with this situation, Lu Changsheng could only encourage the concubines to get to know each other better and develop connections, to save himself from too much trouble. The next day, the wedding feast continued. But on this day, Lu Changsheng did not continue to accompany the drinking. Instead, he met privately with the family patriarchs and heads, along with his wife Lu Miaoge, Lu Miaoyun, Ling Zixiao, and his son Lu Yun. It was just a casual chat to convey his family's stance and extend goodwill. No matter what the others thought, Lu Ancestor always insisted on the external policy of avoiding conflict, building connections, and prospering through harmony, and internally, taking good care of the children and producing more offspring. Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. Changsheng Hall. Hiss. You're saying the beast-taming Su family has set their sights on me, so you came over to look into the situation and test the waters? Lu Changsheng was currently chatting leisurely with a representative of the beast-taming Su family, his palm gently stroking the other's fiery red, smooth hair, his eyes narrowed slightly. He knew that being prominent could attract the attention of other families. But he hadn't expected that the beast-taming Su family would take note of him. Compared to them, Golden Dragon Ridge seemed insignificant. I suspect this matter is related to the Jin family. The Jin family deliberately spread news of you to the ears of the three ancestors. Su Rian let her fiery red hair drape down, covering her stunningly beautiful face, and spoke with a slightly indistinct voice. The Jin family, three ancestors? Lu Changsheng twirled a strand of hair around his finger, his eyebrows lifting slightly. He was aware of the beast-taming Su family but was not very familiar with its internal affairs. All he knew was that in addition to a core formation old ancestor, the Su family apparently also had 3 false core immortals in the open. Su Rian moved her head subtly, her voice indistinct, explaining to Lu Changsheng in detail. The third ancestor of the Su family, the false core patriarch, was named Su Gu. Rumors said he had the potential for core formation in his early years, but was injured by a true disciple of the spirit-taming sect, damaging his Dao foundation and leading to a long period of decline. Later, by chance, he obtained a demon core and formed a false core. However, after breaking through to false core, his personality gradually became peculiar, lacking the demeanor of a true immortal. He had once bullied the weak and attacked a foundation establishment disciple of the spirit-taming sect, crippling their dantian, which provoked the sect to confront the Su family, with the core formation old ancestor coming forward to resolve the issue. Afterward, although the family patriarch restricted Su Gu, he still enjoyed bullying the weaker parties. After assuming the role of Inspector Elder of the Su family, whenever he saw any rising family forces or prodigies, he liked to snuff them out. For a major sect like the spirit-taming sect, facing this kind of issue, their elders would go to the Su family to confront Su Gu, who naturally did not dare to retaliate. But the smaller family forces had nowhere to turn in the face of such behavior. And the family patriarch turned a blind eye to such situations. Therefore, Su Rian indicated that her visit was because Su Gu had taken notice of Lu Changsheng and might target him in the future. Hiss! Lu Changsheng drew in a cool breath and squeezed a sharp and full snow fruit hard with his palm. He thought to himself that the Jin family had actually been waiting for him here. He had thought that the Jin family's over-enthusiastic support was simply to use his family as bait to attract firepower and attention. Little did he expect that the Jin family wanted to use someone else's knife to kill him. Through their excessive support, they made the beast-taming Su family take notice of him and act against him. This ancestor of the Jin family really is an old coin. At this moment, Lu Changsheng's eyes squinted in anger, his body trembling slightly. A moment later, Su Rian's delicate neck gently lifted, her cheeks flushed, and her alluring eyes gazed at Lu Changsheng with a drunk, dazed look. After a gurgle in her slender swan neck, she cooed softly, "Master, Rian, let me see what progress you've made in the beast-taming Su family this year." Lu Changsheng gently stroked her fiery red, silky hair and then rewarded her with a slap on Su Rian's rounded buttocks, engaging in an in-depth exchange with her and asking about the affairs of the beast-taming Su family. At first, Su Rian was able to answer intermittently and vaguely. But as time went on, her cries became tearful and choked, calling out "Master, husband." However, even in such an exchange, Lu Changsheng still gained a lot of insight into the beast-taming Su family. Although the beast-taming Su family only had 3 false-core immortals on the surface, it was possible they had others in the shadows. Moreover, the foundation of the beast-taming Su family lay in the fact that their false cores were only used to maintain the family's strength. With a core formation old ancestor present, they would not intentionally cultivate false core immortals. After all, despite being called immortals, the false core immortals ultimately could not compare with the nascent soul immortals. Not only was their lifespan limited to 300 years, but their cultivation levels could not advance by even an inch. Therefore, the true strength of a family like the beast-taming Su family lay in their ability, if they were willing, to cultivate 1 or 2 false core immortals at any time. Additionally, the beast-taming Su family had a third-order old turtle as its guardian. What kind of demon beast this old turtle was and its specific combat power, Su Rian was not clear. She only knew that it had been with the Su family for a very long time as their clan guardian spirit beast. As for whether there were other third-order spiritual beasts, specifics about the rumored fire crow Daoist soldier and water serpent Daoist soldier, Su Rian did not know. After all, she had only been with the beast-taming Su family for a year. Even though she had entered the core circle, her exposure was still limited. "Okay, I got it." Lu Changsheng nodded, showing some concern for Su Rian's well-being. He then returned the ancient beast-taming charm to her, allowing her to catch up with Hong Lian and see her son, Lu Qinsha. Beast-taming Su family, Su Gu, Lu Changsheng informed Lu Miaoga and Ling Zixiao of the situation with the beast-taming Su family. Faced with this situation, the two of them had no strategy to cope with it for the moment. They could only ask Su Rian to try to downplay the matter when she returned. And Lu Miaoga should try to go out alone as little as possible. After all, Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoga were now one entity. Who knows whether this false core immortal from the beast-taming Su family would make a move on Lu Miaoga. "I just want to live a calm, peaceful, and leisurely life, spending time with my wives and kids, watching them grow up happy and joyful. What a pity. Why is there always someone who tries to disturb me and force my hand?" Lu Changsheng looked up at the azure sky, murmuring to himself. Although he feared nothing from the false core immortals of the Su family, this matter would ultimately bring him some trouble and annoyance. Especially since the beast-taming Su family was a massive presence. If Su Gu really came looking for trouble and ended up being killed by him, wouldn't it bring the core formation old ancestor of the Su family onto his doorstep? And if he ended up killing this elder ancestor of the Su family as well, how would he be able to continue laying low? The wedding banquet lasted for 3 days before it concluded, and guests left in succession. In fact, many people departed on the first day of the wedding banquet. And after individually chatting with Lu Changxing on the second day, most of the family patriarchs bid their farewells. By this last day, apart from some nearby families and those with close relations, there weren't many guests left. As the banquet ended, Su Ruyan stayed for 2 more days at Bihu Lake Mountain before bidding farewell. She indicated that she would try to downplay the affairs relating to Bihu Lake Mountain, Lu Changxing, and Lu Miaoge with the beast-taming Su family. If the Su family made any moves, she would immediately send a message to notify them. Facing this, Lu Changxing was not too worried or concerned. He was content to stay at home with his wives and children, spreading his branches and leaves. After all, his home now had an additional 15 concubines, and he, the Lu ancestor, naturally had to work hard. Chapter 901, Xiaoxia returns. Preparing to propose marriage. Time flew swiftly, and in the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. During this period, Lu Changxing had been at home, spending time with his wife, concubines, and children. Out of the 15 concubines he had recently taken, 3 had succeeded in becoming pregnant under his cultivation. Although the efficiency of this process could not be considered fast, it certainly could not be called slow. There was no need to rush such matters as if completing a task. To be overly purposeful could lead to a loss of enjoyment. Like reading a book or savoring tea, it required a slow appreciation, a gentle exploration, to fully comprehend and savor its charm and delights. In these 3 months, the beast-taming Su family, as mentioned by Su Ruyan, had been quiet. This was normal. The Su family, such a large clan, was not foolish. They could see that Golden Dragon Ridge harbored intentions of using them as a pawn in their scheme. Moreover, the third ancestor of the Su family had only set his sights on Bai Lake Mountain and Lu Changxing. There was no urgency for him to come knocking on their door seeking trouble. Even if he was known for not minding his reputation and liked to bully those weaker than him, he would still look for an excuse to act, not doing so without cause. On the other hand, the Jin family had been suppressing the White Tiger Mountains industries in secret during this time, leading the Mo family and Ning family to send messages to discuss strategies with Lu Changxing. In light of this situation, Lu Changxing naturally expressed solidarity with them in their enmity against the Jin family and condemned their actions. But that was as far as it went, mere condemnation. After all, the Jin family was only suppressing their business and had not done anything like secretly destroying mine sites, medicine gardens, or committing robbery. What could they do against them? That day, at the Lu family mansion, Lu Changxing was cradling his daughter, Lu Lingyi, while chatting with his wives and concubines. This daughter, although not yet a year old, had a physique unlike ordinary infants and was extremely lively, climbing all over Lu Changxing like a little monkey. Ling Zixio's son, Lu Lingxiao, watched quietly as his sister crawled around. His clear eyes, with pupils reflecting the bright sunshine, seemed to have a faint golden luster. Master, at that moment, the voice of Mount Sumra rang in Lu Changxing's mind, informing him that the spirit vein had been successfully nurtured. Ah, it's done. Lu Changxing responded, his eyebrows raising slightly. 2 spiritual eye springs, and in order to prevent accidents or sudden needs, he had chosen to keep one continuing within the cave heaven and had not cultivated a new spirit vein for Bai Lake Mountain. He had merely used the spiritual spring acquired from the Wujing mine site to create a spirit vein in the cave heaven. Upon hearing this news, he promptly picked up his crawling daughter and handed her over to his daughter Lu Wangshu to take care of her. Lu Wangshu's personality was lively and cheerful, she could converse with anyone. However, Lu Changxing could feel that there was a subtle barrier between Lu Wangshu and most of her siblings. It wasn't that she looked down on them. It was just a pure lack of intimacy from the heart. Many times, their happy conversations were somewhat out of politeness and courtesy. People like Lu Chuanjun, although having a generally ordinary relationship with most siblings, were still very close to Lu Xianji, Lu Yun, Lu Yu, Lu Caizhen, and others. Thus, Lu Changxing still hoped his daughter would have a few siblings to whom she was very close. Sister, Lu Lingyi, not shy at all, called out in her baby voice once she was in the arms of Lu Wangshu. Her chubby little hands reached out for her sister's hair, eliciting a helpless expression from Lu Wangshu. But with their father handing over the child and Auntie Ling Zixiao present, she did not make a fuss. After all, she was very close to people like Lu Miaoga, Lu Miaoyun, and Chu Zhenzhen, akin to mother and child relationships, but she rarely interacted with Ling Zixiao. Ling Zixiao had always preferred solitude and had only gradually become more sociable after becoming pregnant and having a child. Now, she often brought her child over to the Lu family mansion. Indeed, it's a first-grade top-grade spirit vein. Lu Changxing went to the Mount Sumeru cave heaven to inspect the newly created spirit vein. Seeing that the result of the spiritual spring was as he had anticipated. However, the mere creation of a first-grade top-grade spirit vein had already caused a slight change in the cave heaven, as if it had grown slightly larger. Mount Sumeru, with one more spirit vein, has there been any enhancement or aid to your growth? Lu Changxing asked Mount Sumeru. The entity could grow through the absorption of the world within itself, benefiting in turn. He was curious about how much of a help it would be to Mount Sumeru to have one more first-grade top-grade spirit vein. Immediately, Mount Sumeru conveyed that it had a limited effect on its growth and had not increased by much. The main outcome was that the cave heaven had slightly expanded, enhancing its power a bit. It seems that to have the cave heaven truly nourish itself for a significant boost, it would have to be cultivated like an immortal city. Lu Changxing murmured to himself, thinking of Azure Phoenix Immortal City and Jiuxiao Immortal City. If he could cultivate the Mount Sumeru cave heaven to that extent, he estimated that Mount Sumeru itself could suppress a nascent soul true lord. Yet such a precious and rare spiritual eye spring only resulted in a small to medium-sized spirit vein. To nurture something on the scale of an immortal city's large third-order spirit vein, he would either need to extract spirit vein origins from the great immortal sects or several immortal cities. Otherwise, it would be difficult to cultivate to that level even with the good fortune of system lotteries. Mount Sumeru, take these spirit vein origins. Lu Changxing took out the tri-footed bronze cauldron, containing the spirit vein origin from White Tiger Mountain. Thank you, Master. Mount Sumeru, akin to a deity of the cave heaven, controlled it perfectly and did not require external spirit lands to cultivate spirit veins. It was capable of extracting the spirit vein origin and using it to nurture itself. With these spirit vein origins, this spirit vein is sufficiently leveled up to second rank. In that case, we can also cultivate some spiritual medicines and spirit plants in the cave heaven. Lu Changxing stroked his chin, planning what to plant in the cave heaven. It wasn't really for the purpose of cultivating spiritual medicines or spirit plants, he simply thought of embellishing the cave heaven. Chapter 902, Xianxia returns. Preparing to propose marriage. In the cave heaven, other than green grass, the pond formed by the spiritual spring, and the Changxing Hall, there was nothing else, which truly made it a bit monotonous. After checking the situation, he went back to the Lu family mansion. Seeing his daughter Lu Wangshu looking helpless due to Lu Ling's mischief, he couldn't help but burst into laughter. After all, he rarely saw his daughter in such a helpless and disheartened manner. Shortly after, Lu Changxing picked up his daughter Lu Lingyi, briefly inquired about Lu Wangshu's cultivation progress, and then let her go play on her own. Seeing Lu Wangshu hastily flying toward Bai Shui Lake on her artifact, Lu Changxing sighed softly, inevitably thinking of Xianxia. The core formation grand ceremony of Chu Qingyi had ended, and Xianxia had gone with her to explore the secret realm in the Luoyun mountain range, which was already 2 years ago. Over these 2 years, Xianxia had not returned even once. She only wrote 1 or 2 letters, expressing her longing and that she was temporarily unable to leave. Although for a cultivator, 2 years was a very short period of time, for Lu Changxing, regarding Lu Wangshu, who was only 17 years old now, 2 years felt very long. I wonder what the situation in the Luoyun mountain range is now. Lu Changxing looked up at the sky, took a deep breath, and then exhaled deeply. He had been paying attention to the situation in the Luoyun mountain range. But the place was under a blockade, and no information could be transmitted from there, leaving him clueless about the situation. Luoyun mountain range. A base enveloped by a faint formation. Master, are you all right? Chu Qingyi and Xianxia looked at their master with concern. Phew, I'm fine. Yun Wanshang, with her resplendent and pale face, gently raised her hand and spoke. Then, looking toward her disciple Chu Qingyi, who had a high-cold demeanor and wore a snow-white sword robe, she said with slightly parted red lips, Qingyi, now that the prohibitions in the secret realm have been broken, you'll take charge here and lead the exploration. I need to return to the sect to heal. Yun Wanshang spoke like this. Although she said she was not seriously harmed, her current condition clearly wasn't suitable for continuing to oversee the exploration of the secret realm. She needed to return to the Qingyun sect to heal more rapidly and thus not affect her foundation. Moreover, having her disciple Chu Qingyi in charge of the exploration here, she felt very reassured. Yes, Master. Chu Qingyi nodded in response, continuing with concern, Master, shall I escort you back to the sect? There's no need, my condition isn't severe enough for that. Yun Wanshang's pale face maintained its majestic composure, as she authoritatively said, Qingyi, should anyone else from our sect come here, remember, the command is in your hands. This secret realm was first discovered by her, and she had even competed with the Wuxia sect to claim ownership. Now, after investing so much effort and even getting injured, she absolutely wouldn't allow any situation where others could reap what she had sown. Please rest assured, Master, Qingyi understands. Chu Qingyi raised her sharp eyebrows, her beautiful face expressing a frigid solemnity. She had become a core formation immortal, naturally not just some naive girl. She understood that cultivation was a struggle within the great Tao. Even within the same sect, there was constant competition. This secret realm was very special and beneficial to both herself and her master. Having spent so much time and effort, they naturally wouldn't allow others to walk away with their hard-earned benefits. Yun Wanshang nodded and then looked toward Xianxia, who was wearing a moon-white dress. Xiu, continue exploring the secret realm with your senior sister. If you can make some gains, it will assist you in your future core formation. Although Xianxia was only at the 5th layer of foundation establishment, with core formation still far away, such matters naturally needed early preparation. After all, even though Xianxia was her disciple, requesting a coagulation crystal elixir and core formation spiritual object from the sect would be very difficult in the future. She needed to rely on her own efforts and make significant contributions to the sect to be convincing and make her request. This, now, was an opportunity. As long as Xianxia worked diligently in this secret realm along with them, once they reported their achievements to the sect, it would be considered a significant merit. Master, let me escort you back. Upon hearing this, Xianxia suddenly lifted her head, biting her lips lightly. She had been here for over 2 years now and was eager to avail this opportunity to return to Bai Lake Mountain to visit Lu Changsheng and her daughter, Lu Wangshu. Yun Wanshang, noticing her disciple's reaction, as a nascent soul immortal, had a very sharp spiritual sense. At this moment, she clearly sensed that her disciple's state of mind was somewhat disturbed, her eyes revealing a touch of tenderness. Theoretically, this kind of emotional disturbance shouldn't occur in Xianxia, who practiced the supreme forgetful love technique. However, as her master, she naturally understood why her disciple felt this way. Sigh. Yun Wanshang silently sighed in her heart. She regretted having Xianxia cultivate the supreme forgetful love technique and regretted agreeing to Xiaoxia's decision back then. But now, things had reached this point, and it wasn't good to say anything more. She could only let nature take its course and hope that Xiaoxia would break through all on her own. Although to her, it seemed extremely difficult for her disciple to overcome this, the likelihood appeared bleak. All right. Yun Wanshang watched Xiaoxia for a moment and then nodded her approval. Thank you, Master. Upon hearing this, Xiaoxia immediately expressed her gratitude. Chu Qingyi, somewhat surprised, looked at her younger sister. As a nascent soul immortal born with the clarity of sword heart, having even sharper spiritual sense than her master, Kaiyun true immortal, she, too, sensed her younger sister's emotional fluctuation at this moment. She didn't understand why her younger sister, at this moment, requesting to escort the master back, would have such an emotional reaction. But she did not ask further, merely nodding at Xiaoxia, since that's the case, it's hard on you, younger sister. You're too polite, elder sister. Xianxia responded softly. Chapter 903, Xianxia returns. Preparing to propose marriage. Yun Wanshang did not say much. Her hands white as jade gently lifted, a piece of cloth with a cloud pattern appeared, transforming into a cluster of colorful nebula clouds. She and Xianxia gently rose to their feet and settled upon the colorful nebula clouds, becoming a streak of flowing light, flying into the 9 heavens gang wind. Xiu, how are things between you and Lu Changxing now? Yun Wanshang sat cross-legged on the cloud veil, closed her beautiful eyes, and quietly inquired. Although she was aware of her disciple's affair with Lu Changxing, she had not paid much attention to it. On one hand, thinking about the matter between her disciple and Lu Changxing, she felt troubled. On the other hand, it was out of respect for her disciple, not wanting to meddle too much in matters of the heart. But now, the situation her disciple was in made her, as a master, inevitably concerned and obliged to ask. Master, Xianxia, wearing a moon-white dress, with a cold and clear complexion like the moon, felt her heart tremble upon hearing her master's words, lightly biting her lip. She knew her actions today disappointed her master. But faced with her master's questions, she did not dare to conceal anything and revealed her feelings towards Lu Changxing. The issue about her daughter, Lu Wangshu, was still something she dared not mention truthfully. A month later. At Bai Lake Mountain, Changxing Hall. Lu Changxing and Xianxia expressed their longing for each other. Separated for many years, their longing flooded in like the tide, reversing into a river. Afterward. Lu Changxing held Xianxia, whose body was as pale and beautiful as jade, as enchanting as the dawn, and as radiant as moonlight, and asked about her past 2 years. Kaiyun True Immortal got injured? Lu Changxing caressed Xiaoxia's flat belly, which didn't have an ounce of excess fat, raised his eyebrows slightly in surprise. He hadn't expected this secret realm to be so dangerous. Even with 2 nascent soul cultivators stationed there, it still resulted in Kaiyun True Immortal, a nascent soul immortal, getting injured and needing to return to the sect for recuperation. However, if not for Kaiyun True Immortal returning to the sect to recover, he and Xiaoxia might still not have known when they could see each other again. But hearing that Xiaoxia would soon return to the Luoyun mountain range with her senior sister Chu Qingyi to explore the secret realm, he couldn't help but worry. Xiu, isn't this secret realm too dangerous? Lu Changxing asked warmly. He had never visited a secret realm or explored any ancient ruins or cave mansions. In his mind, whether it was a predecessor's cave mansion or an ancient secret realm, they were synonymous with danger. If it was possible, he preferred not to get involved. Now, hearing that the secret realm had injured a nascent soul immortal, he naturally was concerned about Xiaoxia's well-being. There were many prohibitions and demon beasts on the outer periphery of the secret realm, which is why Master was accidentally injured. Now that the preliminary exploration of the secret realm is complete, there should be no significant danger. Xiaoxia explained. However, since the secret realm was a crucial secret of the sect, she could not share too much information with Lu Changxing. Even so, Lu Changxing remained concerned about Xiaoxia's situation. After a brief moment of tenderness, they got up from the bed. Having been apart for more than 2 years, Lu Changxing continued to express his longing for her through his actions, helping Xiaoxia dress and do her makeup. The undergarment was as white as the moon, thin as cicada's wings, and light as clouds. A simple and elegant braided long robe and moon-white flowing cloud skirt. Though it was just a plain moon-white dress, on Xiaoxia it supported her exquisite figure with an ethereal grace, adding a cool and otherworldly aspect to her transcendent beauty. Immediately after, Lu Changxing had Xiaoxia sit in front of a bronze mirror to do her hair and brought out various perfumes, rouge, and eyebrow pencils to do her makeup. As the saying goes, practice makes perfect. As a man with many wives, this basic skill was something he had mastered. Moreover, cultivators were naturally beautiful and fair-skinned, mostly requiring only minor touch-ups to highlight their features. Having done all this and seeing Xiaoxia's gentle, sparkling eyes, Lu Changxing's face was also filled with smiles. The life Mr. Lu pursued was just that simple and unadorned. Let's go. Lu Changsheng, handsome as jade, took Xiaoxia's hand to meet their daughter, Lu Wangshu. But the next moment, he noticed that Xiaoxia had yet to put on her shoes and socks. Her slender, fair feet were delicate and exquisite, shaped like lotus leaves, refined in every way, without a single flaw. He then slipped the silk stockings and embroidered shoes onto these jade feet that he had often caressed and admired. The two left Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven to find their daughter, Lu Wangshu. Daddy, Mommy. Lu Wangshu, seeing her mother, who had been absent for over 2 years, did not express overwhelming joy and happiness, displaying a bit of a sulking temperament instead. Faced with this situation, of course, Lu Changsheng and Xiaoxia together coddled their daughter. Moreover, it seemed that Xiaoxia had anticipated her daughter's discontent and had even prepared a gift for her. Lu Wangshu wasn't truly angry. It was simply that Xiaoxia had said she would visit often, but then took so long to return. Now, seeing her mother's face brimming with guilt and explanations, she immediately let go of her resentment. By Shui Lake. On a flat-bottomed boat. Xiaoxia, dressed in a moon-white gown, sat and played the guqin like the 9 heavens bright moon, full of immortal aura. Lu Changsheng, in a green spiritual robe, held a bamboo flute to his lips, his demeanor relaxed and otherworldly. The sound of the guqin and the melody of the flute rose and blended harmoniously, enchantingly beautiful, bringing to mind a scene under the moon and flowers, filled with endless love. The lake breeze stirred ripples on the water's surface, where fish swam idly, and a green jade luan bird in the sky performed a graceful dance. Ever since achieving 3rd rank in music mastery, Lu Changsheng had finally realized the purpose of this green jade luan bird. It was to accompany his own music, adding a touch of charm to it. Beside him, sitting on her own fishing boat, Lu Wangshu held a fishing rod in one hand and propped her radiant face with the other, quietly watching her parents play in harmony. It had to be said that their music truly touched the soul and was utterly captivating. It was just that the loving manner in which her parents played together made her feel as if her teeth were dissolving in the sweetness. They had clearly agreed to accompany her for a day of fun, so how had she ended up feeling like an outsider? Humph. Seeing a large fish approaching from a distance, she channeled her spiritual power with emotion, and slapped a mechanism nearby. Boom! Splish splash! Instantly, a small cannon on the boat fired a fierce bolt of lightning, the explosion rippling giant waves across the calm water and charring the large fish. Daddy, Mommy, look, I've caught another king of fish. Lu Wangshu shot out the fishing line and scooped up the large fish, looking obedient and adorable as she spoke. Lu Wangshu, are you allergic to elegance or what? Don't you realize you're totally spoiling the atmosphere? Lu Changsheng looked at his daughter, somewhat speechless. As a father, he couldn't help but understand that this crafty creature was doing it on purpose. But I really did see a king of fish, and I didn't want it to get away. Lu Wangshu said with an innocent look on her face. All right, Xiaoxia looked at her daughter with affection and asked if she wanted to join them and continue learning to play the guqin. Yes. Lu Wangshu immediately replied with a smile, making a mischievous face at her father, prompting Lu Changsheng to shake his head and lightly chuckle. Like this, Xiaoxia stayed for 7 days at Bai Lake Mountain. During these 7 days, as if making up for lost time, she mostly spent her time doting on her daughter, Lu Wangshu, indulging her every whim. Xiu, since the true immortal knows about us, and now that he happens to be in the sect, what do you think of us going to see him? If he agrees, it would be easier for you to come back to Bai Lake Mountain in the future. That day, as Xiaoxia was about to leave, Lu Changsheng, holding her fair jade hand, spoke earnestly. He had previously mentioned to Xiaoxia the idea of asking for her hand in marriage at the Qingyun sect. However, at the time, the Kaiyun True Immortal was not present in the sect. Now that he knew the Kaiyun True Immortal had returned to the sect, Lu Changsheng planned to make a trip to the Qingyun sect to formally propose marriage. After all, he had once promised Xiaoxia. And when he had first brought up the subject to Xiaoxia, he had seen a flicker of hope and longing in her eyes. There was also the matter of his daughter, Lu Wangshu. Although she had never brought up this issue, he knew that she must be questioning the nature of his relationship with Xianxia in her heart. So now, with the opportunity presenting itself, he intended to go straightforwardly to the sect to propose. Regardless of the outcome, at the very least, he needed to show the proper attitude and take responsibility. Chapter 904, The Number 1 Sword Trial, Siblings of the Jianghu Sect. Changsheng, Xiaoxia's heart shuddered violently upon hearing Lu Changsheng's words. Previously, while returning with her master Yun Wanshang, the two had a long conversation. Yun Wanshang had inquired about how she intended to handle these feelings. She was cultivating the supreme forgetful love technique, which required her to use her emotions to break through. Yet if she became entangled in the maze of these feelings, it would go against the path she sought to follow, essentially amounting to abandoning the great Tao. Xiaoxia naturally understood these principles. She had earnestly told her master that she was only cultivating and would surely be able to break through when the time came. But in her heart, she knew she was just running away. Once she reached the 9th level of foundation establishment, it would be extremely difficult to break through the 3rd layer of the supreme forgetful love technique and make a push for core formation. Master is injured and is currently healing, Xiaoxia spoke softly, her head slightly lowered. Although she longed to be with Lu Changsheng openly and legitimately before the world, she had just assured her master that she was solely focused on cultivation. Now, bringing Lu Changsheng to meet her and propose would surely disappoint her master. Moreover, her master was the enforcement hall master of the Qingyun sect. Besides the warmth she showed to her disciples, she was often as stern as frost and quite imposing. It was possible that she might take a dislike to Lu Changsheng because of Xiaoxia, and blame him. Shiyu. Lu Changsheng knew Xiaoxia very well. He understood that her heart was still knotted over her cultivation issues. He supported her slender shoulders and looked into her eyes, clear as the moon reflected in a lake, and said gently, "You seek the Tao, and I won't stop you, nor blame you. I just don't want you to be wronged. I've said before, I will find a dual cultivation method before you reach core formation. If I can't find it, then you may freely cut off this romantic entanglement and seek the Tao wholeheartedly to break through core formation. However, by the time that comes, I will still come to Qingyun sect with Wang Shu to take you home." Lu Changsheng said, a serious look in his eyes. So many years had passed, and whenever this matter was brought up, she would get lost and confused. He understood this and tried to give her a sense of security to prevent her from overthinking. After all, Xiaoxia's cultivation technique was somewhat unorthodox. If this continued, she might one day cultivate a heart demon. Changsheng, Xiaoxia was stunned and bit her lips, wanting to say something. But Lu Changsheng placed a finger gently upon her moist lips and said, "Let's go, I will accompany you to Qingyun sect. If the true immortal is in closed-door healing, then well leave it be. If not, we shall pay a visit." Lu Changsheng said with a smile. In his view, the worst-case scenario for this marriage proposal trip was merely Kaiyun True Immortal's unfavorable opinion of him. But when he had encountered trouble in Qingyun's sect before, Kaiyun True Immortal had been willing to help him out of a difficult situation. He didn't think she was a person to sweat the small stuff. After all, as a nascent soul immortal, she sat above the clouds, watching them roll and unfold without care. How could she be bothered by marriage matters? Xiaoxia blinked slowly out of her daze, her beautiful eyes showing tenderness and sweetness as she nodded gently. She rarely saw Lu Changsheng act so dominantly. She knew he did this to make her feel at ease, so she wouldn't feel wronged. "I'll go get ready. But for meeting the true immortal, should I also prepare a gift?" Lu Changsheng recalled his past visit to Qingyun sect, where the true immortal seemed to see through his cultivation level. Thus, it was necessary this time to conceal that he had reached Foundation Establishment's 7th layer and quasi-3rd order body refinement. Otherwise, if she noticed the astonishingly rapid increase in his cultivation level, it could invite unnecessary trouble. "There's no need to prepare anything," Xiaoxia said with a faintly amused smile. Subsequently, Lu Changsheng made quick preparations. He used the 9 treasures Rui Bone to seal his mana and cultivation level to the Foundation Establishment 4th layer, and his physical cultivation to the 2nd order initial stage. As for the gift, he chose several spirit talismans he had drawn himself. Thus prepared, Lu Changxing informed Ling Zixiao. Then he and Xiao Xia left Bihu Lake Mountain and set off for the Qingyun sect. In Yu Country, Jianghu sect. The Jianghu sect was hosting its quinquennial sword trial tournament. The competition had reached the final stage and was bustling with activity. All disciples, many sect elders, and supreme elders had emerged from their seclusions to watch the battles. After all, this tournament was not merely a contest among the disciples of Jianghu sect. It also pertained to the dispute over Qingming's secret realm entry spots and resources allocation among the several great immortal sects of Yu Country. Should their disciples excel and prevail over the other sects in the grand competition, they would not only gain honor but also secure more spots and resource distribution in the Qingming's secret realm. Thus, the sect took this great sword trial very seriously. Lu Qingshan of Tianyuan Peak, Gu Yunyang of Jinyun Peak. At this moment, the elder hosting the event announced loudly while holding the jade scroll. As soon as the announcement was made, it set off a wave of expectation among the crowd. Here they come, here they come. Finally, we're going to see an incredibly intense showdown. Lu Qingshan with his sword Dao breaks all spells, while Gu Yunyang practices magical dual cultivation, having perfected the golden lustrous body. It's the perfect matchup. However, based on their previous performances, I think Lu Qingshan will win. Indeed, in all previous contests, Lu Qingshan has been overwhelmingly dominant, defeating his enemies with a single sword strike. It's breathtaking. I think elder brother Gu is more formidable. His cultivation level has reached the peak of qi refining. If it wasn't for the Qingming's secret realm, he'd have broken through to foundation establishment long ago. Lu Qingshan stands no chance against him. That's right, while Lu Qingshan is strong, elder brother Gu has yet to fully display the power of his golden lustrous body. In my opinion, Lu Qingshan is more impressive. 5 years ago, at the 7th level of energy refinement, he placed 30th in the sword trial tournament. Now at the 9th level, having comprehended the first realm of sword Dao, sword Qi like a rainbow, he is unparalleled in his rank and will surely break through the golden lustrous body. Chapter 905, The First Sword Trial, Siblings of the Jianyang Sect. Spectators' seats were abuzz with discussions. Clearly, Lu Qingshan's performance in this swordplay tournament had gained the recognition of many. After all, among these disciples, Lu Qingshan was not only young and handsome. During the last tournament, he made his way up by defeating stronger opponents despite being underdog, and ultimately lost due to his insufficient cultivation level, which left many feeling regretful and remembering his name, looking forward to his performance in this tournament. As expected, this year, Lu Qingshan did not disappoint and rose powerfully. In every match, he won victories with overwhelming dominance, inducing admiration and envy. Accompanied by the waves of enthusiastic discussions, Lu Qingshan and Gu Yunyang had already stepped onto the stage. Junior brother Lu, you are quite impressive. Gu Yunyang wore a proud expression and looked down with a strong intent to fight in his eyes. As a top-tier talent of the Jianyang sect, although he was extremely arrogant, he did not underestimate others. He knew that the opponent's strength would not be much weaker than his own. Senior brother Gu. Lu Qingshan greeted calmly and indifferently with a clasped hands bow. He then looked toward the distant spectator seats, where his sister Lu Qingzhu was cheering for him, and immediately his face broke into a smile and he gestured with his hand. When Gu Yunyang saw this scene, his face darkened slightly, thinking that the opponent did not take him seriously. The match begins. As the two prepared themselves, the elder presiding over the match in the sky announced. Golden lustrous body. Gu Yunyang roared on the stage. Instantly, his magical robe transformed into soft armor, his muscles bulged, his body expanded in size, and a golden lustrous glaze glowed from his skin, giving off a staggering aura. Golden lustrous body, I can't believe senior brother Gu is going all out from the start. Haven't you seen Lu Qingshan's swordsmanship? If he underestimates him, he could be defeated in an instant. Senior brother Gus' golden lustrous body, judging by its appearance, has probably reached nearly the second rank, right? Indeed, It seems that Gu Yunyang is half a step away from breaking through to the second rank with his golden lustrous body. Once he achieves foundation establishment, he'll break through both at the same time. TSK, this young man really is cautious. That soft armor must be the sun-burning robe, right? The disciples watching the match exclaimed in surprise and engaged in animated discussions. Even some of the elders watched the stage attentively and commented out loud. Cloud-piercing stab, sun-burning slash. Gu Yunyang did not underestimate his opponent and took the initiative, attacking with full force. His body shone brightly, his aura like a rainbow, as he charged at Lu Qingshan, his palm emanating a vigorous and grand sun energy, which transformed into a long blade. If one looked closely, they could see a sharp spike on the blazing long blade. The spike was no more than an inch long, but it seemed to shoot out glowing sparks, filled with a sharp essence. Early sun. Lu Qingshan's magical sword sang softly, and immediately a sharp sword chi shot out. Puff puff puff, the fierce sword chi shot out instantly, as cunning as an antelope hanging its horns, as fluid as a spider spinning silk, and it shredded the fierce and wild sun blade to nothing in an instant. Then, the sword chi seemed to concentrate into an invisible drill, buzzing and whirring, stirring up a tempest of sword chi, clashing violently with the spike. What? He blocked it just like that? The spectating disciples saw how Lu Qingshan so casually parried Gu Yunyang's attack and were stunned and amazed. Most of them, even if they went all out, were not sure they could withstand such a formidable assault. Yet Lu Qingshan had easily defused such an attack. This is sword energy formation. Lu Qingshan, with only chi refining cultivation, has already grasped sword chi like a rainbow, which is quite astonishing in itself, and yet he's also mastered sword energy formation. A genius, a true genius of the sword Dao. No, this is a once-in-an-era genius of the sword Dao. Sister Tianyuan has been away for a long time, yet she has been able to teach such a disciple. The elders of Jinyang's sect on the high platform seats displayed shock as they focused earnestly on Lu Qingshan's sword stroke on the platform, appreciating its profound mysteries. The sword Dao is divided into 5 levels: sword chi like a rainbow, sword energy formation, sword energy thunder sound, sword into silk, and sword light division. Although these do not correspond to the cultivation realms of chi refinement, foundation establishment, and core formation, anyone who can comprehend the corresponding level of sword Dao is considered an outstanding sword cultivator. For someone in the chi refinement realm to understand such a level of sword Dao as sword energy formation, that is enough to be called a prodigy. Their Jinyang sect was not a purely sword Dao sect but still had a legacy of swordsmanship. Now, seeing such an exceptional swordsmanship prodigy, they were pleasantly surprised. After all, the saying that sword cultivators are invincible among peers is not a joke, but proven by sword cultivators achieving fame through combat. Gu Yunyang on the stage also looked shocked. He had not expected that his fierce assault could be so effortlessly neutralized by Lu Qingshan. This made him look a bit uncomfortable and feel humiliated. After all, before the tournament, he was everyone's favored contender for the championship. And Lu Qingshan was just a newly rising dark horse. But now, he, the championship contender, was outperformed by this upstart dark horse. Great brilliance King Palm. Heavenly fire seal. He erupted like a golden war deity, his Bodis pores emanating flames, which formed a radiant sun that charged straight at Lu Qingshan. Since the other was a sword cultivator, he had a chance if he could get close. Morning sun. Lu Qingshan's expression remained calm and indomitable, as his golden magical sword swung down decisively. Swoosh swoosh swoosh, in an instant, sword chi surged like spirit snakes, trapping and entwining Gu Yunyang, causing the flames around him to roar and bellow wildly. Hiss, is this junior brother Lu's real strength? Sword cultivators, this is the allure of sword cultivators. TSK, sword energy formation, invisible sword chi. This young man's sword Dao talent is truly amazing. Gu Yunyang is entirely unable to find an opening against him. This level of sword Dao talent is indeed stunning. The disciples and elders, watching Lu Qingshan once again easily dissolve Gu Yunyang's onslaught, could not help but comment with awe. Chapter 906, The First Sword Trial, Siblings of the Jinyang Sect. Damn it. Gu Yunyang's face was unsightly, his golden hand continuously striking out in a violent bombardment, attempting to make a move on Lu Qingshan. But a series of sword chi collided with him, leaving him helpless and extremely frustrated, as if venting his rage in a furious explosion. From his storage bag, he produced a small golden red seal, formed a gesture incantation with both hands, causing a light curtain to form around him, his momentum rising, as he continued to press forward against the sword chi towards Lu Qingshan. Take my sword. Lu Qingshan watched the scene, his expression calmly stating. At that moment, his entire demeanor was formidable, bursting forth with an aura that seemed to tear the firmament apart, as the magical sword in his hands suddenly erupted with a fierce golden radiance. At this moment, everyone could feel from Lu Qingshan a spirit of fearlessness, a sword Dao that swallowed the stars, believing firmly that he could overcome anything. Merely this momentum and vigorous spirit made countless people palpitate and surrender. This. On the high platform, several elders widened their eyes, suddenly standing up from their seats, their expressions shocked. Boom! The golden brilliance burst forth, transforming into a blazing sun-like sword wheel that charged towards Gu Yunyang. This dazzling sword wheel, as if filled with a flow of colorful light, struck Gu Yunyang's surrounding light curtain. The top-grade light curtain formed by the magic artifact shattered instantly, like tofu. Yet immediately, Gu Yunyang's golden lustrous body formed a layer of armor. But even this armor shattered in an instant. No! His eyes filled with a horrified color, as if Lu Qingshan's sword was about to strike him down directly. But the next moment, he saw the sword light vanish, and he was unharmed, save for his armor growing dim. You've yielded. Lu Qingshan, clad in a gold and white magical robe, holding the magical sword, stood calmly and indifferently on the platform. Silence. Dead silence. The entire arena was utterly quiet. Everyone stared wide-eyed at Lu Qingshan, whose vigor was buoyant, his sword chi stern, his posture erect. No one had anticipated that in this final duel, Lu Qingshan would win so effortlessly. Although Gu Yunyang didn't suffer as miserably as he had in many previous duels, it was precisely his use of all means, yet ultimately unscathed defeat, that highlighted the astounding strength of Lu Qingshan. Boom! The next moment, the entire arena erupted in a frenzy. He's incredibly strong. How could it be? Brother Gu was defeated just like that. Brother Gu had absolutely no chance to fight back against Lu Qingshan. Is he really just an energy-refining cultivator? Ah, junior brother Lu is so handsome, I really like him. A young man as robust as junior brother Lu will surely like a woman with a broad heart like me. That sword just now, I felt a force like thunder and lightning. Could it be the legendary sword energy thunder sound? How is that possible? Sword energy thunder sound is the third realm of sword Dao, usually only nascent soul immortals can comprehend it. The crowd around the arena voiced out, all with expressions of disbelief, exclaiming in astonishment. Good, good, good. I didn't expect our Jinyang sect to produce such a sword Dao prodigy. Indeed, with this child, our Jinyang sect will surely claim victory in this 5-sects competition. Not only has he grasped sword chi like a rainbow, sword energy formation, but he seems to have also touched a bit of sword energy thunder sound, TSK TSK TSK, this kid is a natural-born sword Dao genius. On the high platform, the Jinyang sect leader and the elders all wore gratified smiles. It can be said that as long as this child does not die young, not to mention definitely achieving core formation, but at the very least, Jinyang sect will have a top-tier sword cultivator unmatched in his realm. Sect leader brother, sister Tianyuan has been away from the sect for a long time, such a genius might as well join my Jinyan peak. I'll take him as a disciple, guide his cultivation, and he definitely won't waste his talent. At this moment, an authoritative-looking elder beside him looked towards the Jinyang sect leader and spoke up. Brother Jinyan, Gu Yunyang is already your disciple. Do you still want to take Lu Qingshan as your disciple? Sect leader brother, although I'm not solely focused on sword Dao, I also studied it extensively in my early years. why not let Lu Qingshan come to my Chiang Peak, and I can provide some guidance occasionally. Another elder immediately voiced upon hearing this. A disciple like Lu Qingshan was destined to rise and shine brilliantly in the future. Even if he couldn't be taken as a disciple, they were willing to have a period of mentor-disciple affection and karma. This child is Sister Tianyuan's disciple, her direct disciple at that. Such actions are not in accordance with the sect's rules and etiquette. However, when Sister Tianyuan returns, I will have a good talk with her. The Jinyang sect leader raised his hand and spoke. In this moment, even he believed that Tianyuan True Immortal, as Lu Qingshan's master, was somewhat hindering the disciple. After all, they all knew that Tianyuan True Immortal often went out seeking opportunities, only occasionally returning to the sect. Under such circumstances, it was entirely unfavorable for the cultivation of Lu Qingshan. Lu Qingshan wins. At that moment, the elder referee announced the result of the duel. Even he, at this very moment, looked at Lu Qingshan with an extraordinary expression. Damn it, Gu Yunyang, watching Lu Qingshan, who was sheathing his sword and about to step down from the arena, shouted loudly, Lu Qingshan, wait until I break through to Foundation establishment, and I shall fight you again, and I certainly won't lose to you. Several elders from the Jinyang sect, upon seeing this, nodded slightly. Gu Yunyang was also a top-tier talent of the Jinyang sect. Naturally, they did not want him to lose his fighting spirit because of a single duel. Enemies defeated by me are never regarded as my equals. I give you time to catch up until you can't even see me. Lu Qingshan paused in his steps and spoke calmly. Hiss. Everyone was shocked. No one expected Lu Qingshan to be so arrogant. No, this was confidence. Absolute confidence in himself, and invincibility. Perhaps it was precisely because of this that he could achieve such accomplishments in the Sword Dao. At this moment, he fully exemplified the pride and backbone of a sword cultivator. He's too strong, who knows how amazing he will be once he breaks through to Foundation establishment. With Lu Qingshan here, in the 5-sect sword trial 3 years later, probably no one will be his match. Many disciples from the Jinyang sect exclaimed. Man, this feels really good. Lu Qingshan stepped down from the arena, came over to the spectator stands, and seeing the way people looked at him, his mouth curved slightly upwards. Lu Qingshan, congratulations on winning this sword trial. You may choose 3 rewards. At this moment, the Jinyang sect leader stepped forward, and with a gesture, a large scroll listing the rankings and rewards appeared. Foundation Establishment Elixir, Tianxin Sound Bamboo Sword, Rainbow Feather Garment. Lu Qingshan immediately named the 3 rewards he had set his sights on. The Jinyang sect leader frowned slightly upon hearing this. He could understand the choice of the Tianxin Sound Bamboo Sword, but the Foundation Establishment Elixir and the Rainbow Feather Garment puzzled him. Lu Qingshan, you have now won the first place in the sword trial, and as long as you complete the assessment trial, you can be promoted to a true disciple, at which point you can directly apply for the Foundation Establishment Elixir. Additionally, the Rainbow Feather Garment is a spiritual garment for women, and it does not suit you, said the Jinyang sect leader. For an ordinary disciple, he wouldn't have mentioned it. But Lu Qingshan's case made him feel compelled to give some advice. Sect leader, I understand. Lu Qingshan responded respectfully. Good, remember, the sect's Foundation Establishment elixirs cannot be leaked outside, at most be traded with inner disciples. Seeing this, the Jinyang sect leader said no more and handed over all 3 rewards to Lu Qingshan with a wave of his hand. Thank you, sect leader. Lu Qingshan accepted the gifts and bowed in thanks. Then, he quickly went to the Tianyuan Peak spectator seats, looked at his sister Lu Qingzhu, whose face was full of excitement, and proudly smiled. How about it, little Zhu, isn't your brother amazing? Awesome, really awesome. Bro, you're the best. Lu Qingzhu nodded repeatedly, her eyes filled with admiration. Although she had participated in the sword trial, she hadn't even made it past the top 100 and was eliminated early. Now, seeing her brother winning first place, she was naturally filled with admiration. Here, little Zhu, this is a gift your brother got for you. Lu Qingshan handed over the Foundation Establishment elixir and rainbow feather garment, belonging to the 3 awards, to his sister. Having the seed of law, he believed breaking through Foundation Establishment didn't require the help of a Foundation Establishment elixir. Naturally, this Foundation Establishment elixir was prepared for his sister Lu Qingzhu. Moreover, in his view, since his sister Lu Qingzhu lacked in talent, a single Foundation Establishment elixir might not ensure her breakthrough in Foundation Establishment. When he was promoted to a true disciple later, the Foundation Establishment elixirs he applied for could still be used by Lu Qingzhu. Brother. Lu Qingzhu looked at the 2 rewards, her beautiful eyes brimming with emotion. Hee, what are we being so formal for, little Zhu? Come on, let's go home. Lu Qingshan said with a casual and indulgent smile, affectionately ruffled her hair, and led Lu Qingzhu back towards Tianyuan Peak. The Jianghu sect leader and several elders saw this scene and nodded slightly. They had heard that Tianyuan Peak had taken in 2 disciples years ago who were siblings. The sister, compared to Lu Qingshan, was quite ordinary, nothing spectacular, and lacked brilliance. Chapter 907, Yun Wanshang, let me give you my blessing. The boundless clear sky, a pure azure expanse. A sapphire spirit boat soared through the air. Standing on the boat were a young man and woman. The man appeared to be in his 20s, draped in luxurious sky-blue robes, a tall and elegant figure like a graceful tree swaying in the breeze. His stunning, ethereal face was calm and indifferent, his lips adorned with a faint smile that felt as warming as a spring breeze, evoking a sense of goodwill in those who saw him. The woman also seemed to be in her 20s, her beauty fresh and sublime, beyond the mundane world, clad in a moon-white flowing cloud dress, resembling the bright moon above, clear and luminous. Her gorgeous features were gentle and soft, her cool eyes gazing distantly at the Qingyun sect shrouded in mist and bathed in the light of dawn, her ample chest rising and falling slightly as if preoccupied with thoughts, unlike the man's relaxed and comfortable demeanor. Shiyu, relax your heart. Lu Changxing, while looking ahead at the Qingyun sect, was also somewhat tense inside, not as calm as he appeared on the surface. After all, making a marriage proposal was an experience he had also gone through only once in his life. It had been to the previous generation of the Lu family ancestor, not directly to Lu Yuanding, his prospective father-in-law. Now, to propose marriage to a nascent soul immortal, to say there was no pressure would be impossible. Xianxia nodded her lovely head gently, her lunar eyes filled with ripples like droplets of water. Before long, the spirit boat landed in front of the gate of the Qingyun sect. Greetings to Uncle Master Xiao. Greetings to Uncle Master Shiyu. Upon seeing Xianxia, the disciples at the gate immediately bowed in respect. Someone like Zhao Qingqing might not be recognized by many disciples. But Xianxia had an enormous reputation within the Qingyun sect. Not only had her master and senior sister become nascent soul immortals, but she was also a core disciple of the Qingyun sect. Xiaoxia's face remained cool and exceptional, like a bright moon in a frosty night, dignified and noble, bringing Lu Changxing into the Qingyun sect and flying towards Kaiyun Peak. Although the two did not show excessive affection, they did not seem unfamiliar either. This caused many along the way who greeted Xiaoxia to look surprised and puzzled. It was unexpected that the famous fairy Shiyu would be so close to a man. Especially those who knew Lu Changxing and had heard of his big name were even more suspicious and bewildered when they saw this scene. Isn't he master of Bihu Mountain, Lu Changxing? How can he be so intimate with junior sister Shiyu? Could it be that his relationship with senior sister Xiao isn't ordinary? No, that's impossible. Junior sister Xiao is a high and mighty moon palace fairy. How could she have anything to do with this Lu Changxing? I heard that Lu Changxing had known junior sister Xiao from a long time ago. Perhaps they're just friends. I heard that not long ago, Lu Changxing took more than 10 maidens as concubines. How could junior sister Shiyu associate with such a man? This mountain lord Lu does indeed appear as handsome and elegant as the rumors say, and he's also a second-order top-level talisman master, and a second-order alchemist. What business does this Lu Changxing have at Qingyun sect? As they watched the two fly towards Kaiyun Peak, many people were buzzing with discussion. Xiaoxia's reputation in Qingyun sect was immense, but Lu Changsheng's name had also grown considerably over the years. Particularly not long ago, the achievement of defeating the great elder of the Jinlong Ridge Jin family alongside Lu Miaoga had astonished many Qingyun sect disciples. After all, such combat capabilities, even within the Qingyun sect, set one apart as an influential figure. Shiyu seems to be quite admired within the sect. Lu Changsheng, although he had not heard the comments of others, noticed many eyes looking towards him and could decipher their expressions and gazes. As for such stares, Mr. Lu was naturally quite familiar. He thought to himself that if he were truly to become Dao companions with Xianxia and hold a grand ceremony, the Qingyun sect would likely experience countless heartbreaks. Worse still, there might be Qingyun sect disciples who held a grudge against him and sought trouble, much like Meng Yibai in the past. TSK, indeed, winning the favor of a fairy is no easy task. Lu Changsheng mused to himself with a sense of wonder. Xianxia gave Lu Changsheng a white glance and pointed to the imposing mountain peak ahead, shrouded in spiritual energy and with waterfalls cascading down. Changsheng, that's Kaiyun Peak. Good. Lu Changsheng nodded his head, his face showing a serious and earnest demeanor. He also felt a surge of curiosity, keen to see Xiaoxia's master, the prestigious Kaiyun True Immortal. After all, her big name was as thunderous to his ears. Not only was she the master of the enforcement hall, but she had also trained Xu Qingyi to become a nascent soul immortal. In the past, she was the one who annihilated the Xiahou clan from Blackwater Pool. Recently, she had defeated a core formation true immortal of the Wuxia sect in the Luoyun mountain range, her combat power being extraordinary. Xiaoxia took out her identity jade, opened the formation, and entered Kaiyun Peak with Lu Changsheng. Then they made their way to the magnificent and majestic palace at the peak of the mountain. Master. Xiaoxia spoke with a respectful bow. If her master was not in secluded meditation, she would be able to sense her and respond. Seeing this, Lu Changsheng also bowed respectfully alongside Xiaoxia. Not to mention that the Kaiyun True Immortal was Xiaoxia's master and elder, just her status as a nascent soul immortal demanded his utmost respect. At this very moment, within the palace. Sun-Moon Samsara technique, hearts resonating, thoughts merging, Yun Wanshang sat cross-legged, quietly observing the jade slip in her hand. Although she had been injured in the Luoyun mountain range secret realm, she had still gained quite a lot. Her greatest acquisition was the technique jade slip in her hand. This cultivation technique was profound and mysterious, classified as an auxiliary one, with cultivation of it aiding cultivators in breaking through foundation establishment, core formation, nascent soul formation, and divinity transformation. The only issue was, it was a dual cultivation technique. You needed to engage in male-female dual cultivation, the union of yin and yang, for the third layer to be breached, aiding in the breakthrough to the nascent soul stage. Phew. Yun Wanshang gazed at it for a long time, her hand lightly touching her forehead as she set the cultivation technique down. Chapter 908, Yun Wanshang, shall I make it happen for you? Even through her discerning eyes, she had to admit that this cultivation technique was profound, far surpassing most of the techniques she had encountered. If one could find a dual cultivation Dao companion with aligned ambitions, it was estimated the chances of a breakthrough could increase by 20 to 30%. To break through from core formation to nascent soul, one faced two major tribulations. The nascent soul's heavenly tribulation and the demonic tribulation. And this Sun-Moon Samsara technique allowed male and female cultivators, upon reaching a certain stage, to enter a marvelous state that transcended the physical body, union of spirit and divine essence. This related to the concept of the soul path dreams. It even pertained to the rumored samsara mood. In such a marvelous state, the two could experience a new life, greatly aiding their understanding of the heart's condition and the great Tao. If one could achieve mental and spiritual perfection through this method, then facing one of the dual nascent soul tribulations, the demonic tribulation, would pose no obstacle. If only I had obtained this technique in my earlier years, Yun Wanshang thought of her own Tongyu phoenix marrow body and felt a surge of frustration. Her physique had hardly any enhancing effects in the early stages. Only after breaking through to core formation would it generate a strand of spirit-nurturing energy. For a nascent soul cultivator, this was an invaluable treasure. Through male and female dual cultivation, one could continually refine the true elixir, increasing the chances of nurturing the nascent soul. It could be said that such a selfless physique made countless core formation cultivators flock to her. If she wanted, she could immediately choose any genius or exceptional cultivator to be her Tao companion. By leveraging her Tongyu Phoenix marrow body and this Sun-Moon Samsara technique, if she could just find a suitable Tao companion, it would be like adding a 50% chance to nurture her nascent soul. But fate was cruel. Her spirit Phoenix marrow body had been broken by a little Qi refinement cultivator and entered his body. Even more ironic was that this little cultivator had formed a bond with her disciple. This Lu Changxing must possess some kind of top-tier physique. If only he and Shiyu were not involved, he would have been a fine candidate, Yun Wanshang murmured to herself, as a potential Tao companion came to mind. But she immediately shook her head, discarding the thought. Although the man likely possessed a top-tier physique and a talent beyond her expectations, with a promising future in core formation, just thinking about his boorish behavior, and his ties with her disciple Xianxia, she felt agitated. At that moment, Yun Wanshang heard Xiaoxia's voice outside the palace. She wanted to open the palace doors to ask Xiaoxia what was the matter, but she immediately sensed another presence outside the hall, besides Xiaoxia. The other person, in a green robe with an ethereal handsomeness, stood shoulder to shoulder with Xiaoxia, clasping hands in a salute. Although Lu Changsheng's appearance and aura had slightly changed over the years, she recognized him at a glance. Why has he come? Yun Wanshang furrowed her brows, her regal and slightly pale, stunning face instantly chilled. She knew that her disciple Xiaoxia had gone to Bai Lake Mountain to meet with Lu Changsheng. But why was Xiaoxia bringing Lu Changsheng to Kaiyun Peak to see her now? And seeing how naturally close the two stood together, she felt an inexplicable irritation rise within her. Shiyu, what is the matter? Yun Wanshang stood up, her eyebrows like finely drawn artwork, yet exuding an indescribable coldness. The entire room was like an ancient ice mountain, nobly cold, chilling to the bone. Master, Xiaoxia, feeling the vibrations from within the hall and hearing her master's voice, trembled slightly. As a disciple, she knew her master very well. She could tell from the tone of her voice that her master was in a bad mood. Otherwise, her master would not speak in such a tone, or keep the palace doors shut. She knew she had disappointed her master with her actions. Is this person Shiyu's master, Kaiyun true immortal? Lu Changsheng, hearing the woman's voice, detected a degree of cold indifference. From the situation, he immediately knew proposing to Xiaoxia could be difficult. The master seemed displeased with him. Shouldn't a mother-in-law look more favorably upon a son-in-law as time passed? However, Lu Changsheng also roughly understood the reasons. Xiaoxia's cultivation was likely to suffer if she entangled herself in romantic affairs. Her master could turn a blind eye if it was just about cultivation. But bringing him to meet the master showed that Xiaoxia had serious intentions, which could ruin her future prospects. Naturally, her master would be angry. But no matter what, Lu Changsheng believed he needed to show the responsibility a man should bear at this moment. And according to the circumstances, was the mother-in-law, at this point, should she be called a mother-in-law or still be addressed as master? Regardless, he needed to show responsibility and accountability in her presence, not letting Xiaoxia bear her anger. Youngster Lu Changsheng greets the true immortal. I'm deeply aligned with Shiyu. Therefore, I've come to meet you and humbly ask for your blessing. Lu Changsheng bowed deeply toward the imposing hall, speaking his request. Blessing? The cold and authoritative voice from the hall rose, making Lu Changsheng feel weighed down. As if a great mountain pressed upon him, even the air around him seemed to solidify. Lu Changsheng had once felt a taste of the core formation's pressure from Nangong Meili. But that pressure paled in comparison to the intensity emanating from this Kaiyun true immortal. Master. Xiaoxia hastily called out to her master, her voice filled with concern, fearing that her master would take action against Lu Changsheng. Shiyu, you've truly disappointed your teacher. Yun Wanshang, seeing the affectionate comportment of the two lovers, felt even more agitation, contemplating whether to cut down Lu Changsheng with a single stroke. He not only caused her to be mentally disturbed but also led her disciple down this troubled path. Xiaoxia's Dao heart was firm, and her future in core formation was promising. But now, because of a man, she had fallen deep, which regretfully made her master disappointed and resentful. Chapter 909, Yun Wanshang, Shall I make it happen for you? Master. Lu Changsheng and I are merely cultivating, and only by leaving no regrets can we sever emotional entanglements and wholeheartedly pursue the Tao, Xiaoxia said to her own master. Shiyu. Lu Changsheng knew Xiaoxia was making excuses, likely having used this same rhetoric to explain to her master before. Probably for that reason, when he brought up the matter of marriage, Xiaoxia was somewhat hesitant. He immediately stood tall under the pressure and, with a cupped fist, said, Real person. But before he could finish his words, a female voice rang out from within the palace. Are you trying to explain and take responsibility for her to gain favor? Shiyu is inexperienced. Do you still want to deceive me? If you truly like Shiyu, you should know that once her cultivation falls into emotional obstacles, the great Tao is hopeless. Yun Wanshang said coldly. Although she was annoyed by Xiaoxia's affairs and despaired of her being iron unfit for steel, she also felt inexplicably irritable towards Lu Changsheng. The lad understands, but Shiyu and I truly love each other. I only hope real person would bless us. I will not obstruct or blame Shiyu if she seeks the Tao someday. I will only find ways to support and fulfill her. Lu Changsheng took a deep breath and said aloud, bearing the pressure. Before this, he had envisioned several scenarios, never expecting it would turn out this way. At this moment, he felt like a poor scholar who unintentionally encountered a distinguished young lady and now faced the beating of love birds when coming to ask for her hand. After a moment of silence in the great hall, the female voice continued, You can deceive Shiyu with these words, but do you think you can deceive me? Shiyu is inexperienced and naive, blinded by affection, unable to see your true face. If you truly wish to help Shiyu achieve Tao, why would you do this? Yun Wanshang continued. Thinking about this, she recalled how, due to the Red Phoenix karma fire, she had spent a night with Lu Changsheng, who had then looked at her pitifully and helplessly like a married man. At the time, she actually believed he was some sort of decent married man. Only to find out later he already had multiple wives and was the father of dozens of children. Utterly shameless. At the thought, Yun Wanshang's heart surged with anger, almost wishing to cleave him with a sword. She had genuinely been pure then, her spirit-nurturing energy had even benefited him, and yet he had the nerve to seem aggrieved. Not only her, but now her disciple Xiaoxia was deceived by this vile thief. Outside the great hall, Lu Changsheng's mouth twitched, uncertain how to respond to this. As the other had said, in his early years with Xiaoxia, he harbored ulterior motives, not wanting Xiaoxia to leave. But isn't that human nature? Facing such a fairy, who could merely focus on cultivation. Shiyu, this man just looks decent, but how can mere sweet words and a honeyed mouth trap you in emotional jeopardy? Yun Wanshang continued to speak out. Lu Changsheng. Could we just talk properly? Why is there personal attack? Master, Xiaoxia's head drooped slightly, at this moment unsure of what to say. For decades, she had never seen her master so angry. Knowing she had thoroughly disappointed her master, she dared not defend herself too much. Now that things have come to this, I will say no more. Take this cultivation technique and go cultivate. Shiyu, if you do not achieve core formation within 50 years, I will personally slay him. Yun Wanshang knew that given the circumstances, her own interference would be futile. Since it had come to this, she decided to put some pressure on them. Amid her words, a jade slip whooshed from within the hall, appearing before Xiaoxia. Lu Changsheng. Why should I be slain if Xiaoxia fails to achieve core formation within 50 years? Isn't this too tyrannical? Hey, but 50 years feel quite long though. With his circumstances, achieving core formation within 50 years was more than feasible. Once I achieve core formation and condense a high-quality gold core, it might not even be clear who could slay whom. Immediately, Lu Changsheng cupped his hands and said aloud, Please rest assured, real person. If Shiyu fails to achieve core formation within 50 years, there is no need for the real person to take action. I, Lu Changxing, will personally come to Kaiyun Peak to admit guilt and accept whatever punishment the real person decrees. 50 years later, he would stand here and see if she could slay him. However, he felt they could find a solution to Xiaoxia's cultivation issues within the 50 years. Changxing. Hearing this, Xiaoxia's face froze, suddenly looking at Lu Changxing. Although 50 years was a long time, providing ample time to cultivate to Foundation Establishment Peak, the breakthrough to core formation was not that simple. Even if she cultivated the Supreme Forgetful Love technique, she needed to make various preparations for core formation. Like many Foundation Establishment Peak cultivators, they spent their whole lives at the Foundation level because they dared not attempt the breakthrough, the chances being far too low. Furthermore, she herself lacked the confidence to overcome this emotional hurdle. Chapter 9-10, The Tremor of the Sun-Moon Samsara Technique and the Tongyu Phoenix Marrow Body. Inside the palace, Yun Wanshang heard Lu Changsheng's reply and was somewhat astonished. She knew very well the situation of her disciple, Xiaoxia. Setting a 50-year time limit was merely a hope that Xiaoxia could leverage these feelings to overcome the emotional barrier. As for Lu Changxing, she didn't have any expectations at all. But Lu Changsheng's actions had caught her off guard. If Xiaoxia couldn't make a breakthrough in core formation within 50 years, he had offered to come and confess his guilt. Had it not been for his swine-like behavior, she would have been quite satisfied with this sense of responsibility. After all, as a nascent soul immortal, with sharp spiritual sense, she could tell that Lu Changxing was truly sincere with his words, and they were not a sham. Is he truly so deeply in love with Xiyu, or does he have some hidden confidence? Yun Wanshang's face was stunningly beautiful, her eyes like water, noble and frosty. She glanced subconsciously at Lu Changsheng's cultivation level situation. Still at the Foundation Establishment mid-stage? No advancement in body refinement either? Kaiyun True Immortal's eyebrows furrowed. Over 10 years ago, Lu Changxing had already reached the Foundation Establishment mid-stage cultivation level. Furthermore, he practiced magical dual cultivation, ranking even higher than Xiaoxia. Now more than 10 years had passed, and he hadn't advanced at all? Could it be that after establishing a family, he became engrossed in the pleasures of the flesh? Yun Wanshang immediately speculated that Lu Changxing, after establishing a stable life with his family, had become lax in his cultivation, indulging in pleasures and neglecting his duties. After all, she was aware of many such incidents. Many loose cultivators, after breaking through to Foundation Establishment, would feel content with life and abandon their path halfway, losing themselves in enjoyment. Suddenly, she felt a surge of frustration, like the helpless anger of finding iron but being unable to forge steel. She believed that Lu Changxing, who clearly had fortuitous opportunities and a top-tier physique, did not know how to cherish them, indulging in pleasures and wasting his potential. Although she believed she had no ties or relations with Lu Changxing, and that it was none of her concern, for some reason, she felt irritated. Even if we have no ties, you have received my spirit-nurturing energy. You can be useless, but I, Yun Wanshang, will absolutely not allow someone who received my spirit-nurturing energy to be someone who only knows how to indulge in pleasures and waste their life. Yun Wanshang's delicate, jade-like hands clenched tightly, her eyes flashing with an indescribable chill. She then coldly addressed Lu Changxing, who was outside the Grand Hall. If your cultivation progresses too slowly and hampers Xiyu, I will still eliminate you. Outside the Grand Hall, Lu Changxing was startled and somewhat bewildered. Hadn't Xiyu said her master was quite reasonable? Why so domineering? If Xiaoxia couldn't break through core formation in 50 years, she would eliminate him. If his own cultivation was slow and he hindered Xiaoxia, she would also eliminate him? Indeed, the disciple of a nascent soul immortal was not so easily married. Luckily, he had backups and was not worried at all. Facing the invisible pressure, he stood tall, bowed, and said, "Please rest assured, true immortal, I will definitely not hamper Xiyu, and we will both strive for core formation within 50 years. But, I also have a request. If Xiyu and I both successfully break through to core formation, I hope you will give us your blessings." Lu Changxing spoke with neither humility nor arrogance. Although he was confident that after core formation, he would not fear Kaiyun true immortal, and she couldn't stop him, she was, after all, Xiaoxia's master, an elder, and still deserved his respect. Moreover, there was an old saying, a love without the blessings of elders is ultimately imperfect. For the sake of Xiaoxia, he also hoped to receive the recognition, approval, and blessings of this Kaiyun true immortal. Yun Wanshang's beautiful eyes were piercing, her brows slightly furrowed, wondering where Lu Changxing got the confidence to boldly claim that he and Xiaoxia could both challenge core formation within 50 years. Although his cultivation used to be faster than Xiaoxia in his early years, once Xiaoxia overcame the emotional trial of the supreme forgetful love technique, she could quickly obtain core formation spiritual objects and coagulation crystal elixir through Qingyun sect. As a clan cultivator, he would definitely not be able to get the coagulation crystal elixir. At most, he would spend a great price to collect 1 or 2 core formation spiritual objects. This is why the cultivation path of loose cultivators is difficult. Everything can only be relied upon oneself. During the Qi training stage, scurrying about for a foundation establishment elixir, foundation establishment spirit objects. During foundation establishment stage, scurrying about for a coagulation crystal elixir, core formation spiritual objects. Many loose cultivators might busy themselves their entire lives and end up with nothing, or even worse, with their lives and souls scattered, bones buried in the wilderness. However, since Lu Changxing said so, she no longer said anything more and coldly replied with a clear, indifferent voice, "If you can achieve core formation within 50 years, I will no longer meddle in the matter between you and Shiyu. And if Shiyu is willing, I may even personally conduct the Dao companion ceremony for you both. But if you fail, don't blame me for being heartless." Yun Wanshang's gorgeous face was expressionless, her voice clear and moving as it carried the authority unique to those above. Xiaoxia wants to break through the 3rd layer of supreme forgetfulness. She must overcome the emotional obstacles. Once she overcomes the emotional obstacles, even if she doesn't forget Lu Changxing, she would be able to view this relationship calmly. At that time, it's highly likely the two would not be able to continue their romance. If they indeed rekindle their past relationship, but both have broken through to core formation, she as a master wouldn't interfere anymore. After all, at this stage in cultivation, one does not need others to meddle in their path. "Thank you, true immortal." Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing immediately bowed in thanks towards the grand hall. He thought to himself that although she was somewhat overbearing, she was still a reasonable person. There was no response from within the grand hall. Changxing. Xiaoxia looked at the quiet grand hall, turned her beautiful head towards Lu Changxing, and felt a wave of emotion in her heart. She believed that Lu Changxing had the potential to break through to core formation within 50 years, but she was not certain about herself. "Rest assured, I have everything under control," said Lu Changxing as he held Xiaoxia's fair hand, his expression gentle and voice soft. Wuxia World. Site. Co. Chapter 911, The Tremor of the Sun-Moon Samsara Technique and the Tongyu Phoenix Marrow Body. Shiyu, remember to head to the Luoyun mountain range as soon as possible. At this moment, the cold and majestic female voice rang out again in the hall, accompanied by a breeze that swept the two people away, sending them from the front of the great hall. Yun Wanshang had reluctantly agreed to the two of them. But watching them display such affectionate behavior, especially Lu Changxing who had coaxed her own disciple, she felt a wave of irritation and displeasure in her heart. Even though she did not want to be the kind of person who interferes in a couple's relationship, she just couldn't help feeling upset. It's better to be out of sight, out of mind. "Yes, master." Xiaoxia pursed her lips slightly, bowing deeply toward the summit palace. Although she had not received her master's approval today, this conversation had made her aware of her master's attitude. As long as her cultivation was not delayed, she could be with Lu Changxing openly and without needing to hide. It was this 50-year time limit that added a sense of urgency in her heart. "Changxing, master is not usually like this, don't take it to heart," Xiaoxia explained to Lu Changxing at this time. She believed that her master's unusual behavior today was entirely because she had disappointed her master with her own actions. "What's there to worry about?" The true immortal only wants what's best for you. Besides, the true immortal is very reasonable, and when we both reach core formation, she will even host a ceremony for us. Lu Changxing said with a smile, not feeling particularly sentimental. He was also a father. He could fully understand the other party's actions. A promising disciple, nurtured for so many years, and now she's entangled with a man like you. If it spoils her cultivation and she loses her path to the Tao, what can you offer as compensation? Were it his own daughter, Lu Changxing felt he would have already drawn a sword. By the way, what is the cultivation technique the true immortal gave you? At this point, Lu Changxing looked at the technique jade slip in Xiaoxia's hand and asked aloud. He remembered, the Kaiyun true immortal said that the technique was for the two of them to cultivate together. The sun-moon samsara technique. Xiaoxia looked curiously at the technique jade slip in her hand. But as she glanced over its content, her face flushed with a tinge of red. She had not expected her master to give her a dual cultivation technique, let alone for her to cultivate it together with Lu Changxing. This. What's wrong? Seeing her reaction, Lu Changxing asked curiously. Xiaoxia said nothing and handed the technique jade slip to Lu Changxing. The sun-moon samsara technique, the flow of mana, harvesting the soul of the sun and the spirit of the moon from heaven and earth, transforming them into the great medicine of the cauldron, through the union of male and female in dual cultivation, the joining of yin and yang, the meeting of kan and li. Lu Changxing examined the jade slip with his divine sense, and upon seeing the content of the technique, he immediately understood why Xiaoxia looked so embarrassed. He put away the jade slip, his expression gentle, and laughed. Since it's the true immortal's wish, we should diligently comprehend and cultivate it, striving for an early breakthrough in core formation. Emichim, Xiaoxia murmured in agreement. Soon after, the two of them arrived at Xiaoxia's place of residence, the Mingyue residence. The entire great hall was spacious and simple, with only 2 servant disciples in the courtyard. Just like the core disciples of the Qingyun sect, they could select servants from the outer sect to take care of trivial matters. Miss, the 2 girls were as shocked as if they had seen a ghost when they saw their mistress bringing a man with her. Xiaoxia once again showed her usual cool and indifferent demeanor, explaining that this was her good friend, who had come to discuss the Tao. She told the 2 to make the necessary arrangements. Of course, the 2 girls did not dare to question further. After all, choosing to become servants meant binding their lives to a core disciple. If the core disciple eventually becomes a sect executor or elder, then they too could become a steward. After Lu Changxing and Xiaoxia arrived at the cave mansion, they did not sit down to discuss the Tao but instead jointly examined the cultivation technique in the jade slip. It took some time, but the 2 of them eventually understood why the Kaiyun true immortal would give them this manual. This sun-moon samsara technique was indeed profound and intricate. Not only was it beneficial to their cultivation, but it could also help them break through realms. Furthermore, it involved soul, mindset, and the perception of the great Tao, truly a top-tier dual cultivation technique. Even from Lu Changxing's perspective, this technique was top-tier, far surpassing his own tender embrace technique. This Kaiyun true immortal probably wants Shiyu to complement the mindset issues of the supreme forgetful love technique through this cultivation technique, Lu Changxing mused in his heart. He knew that the supreme forgetful love technique placed great emphasis on mindset. And this cultivation technique, once cultivated to a certain level, allowed for the soul and consciousness to dual cultivate, entering a marvelous state of spiritual union. In this state, both individuals would feel as if they were experiencing reincarnation, living through a life in a dreamlike state. It was greatly beneficial for mindset and the perception of the great Tao. But this technique seems quite difficult. Lu Changxing glanced through the complex content of the technique with some trepidation. Aside from spending time early on cultivating techniques like the returning origin technique and the flame bullet technique, he had never seriously studied any cultivation techniques. All cultivation techniques were inherited through the system. He only studied the Purple Mansion Nurturing Spirit technique and the Red Phoenix True Scriptures Soul Dispersion Needle briefly. But even these 2 techniques were just a basic introduction and not at a highly proficient level. This Sun-Moon Samsara technique was incredibly elaborate. Firstly, one needed to sense the essence of the sun and moon from the heavens and earth and collect the soul of the sun and spirit of the moon within the body to form the great medicine. After completing this step, through the mutual interplay of yin and yang, the meeting of Kan and Li, the formation of the yin-yang wheel, mutual cultivation, they would evolve the sun and moon within the body, and then use the sun-moon cauldron to produce Xian pearls, and so on. This process also required the two people to be in harmony, with cultivation levels as close as possible, among a host of other stringent conditions. If there were the slightest mistake, it could lead to the loss of all previous efforts, which was enough to give Lu Changxing a headache, fearing that he might not be able to keep up with Xiaoxia's progress. This top-tier dual cultivation technique is even more demanding than the ordinary ones, being several times harder. Wuxia World. Sight. Co. Chapter 9:12, The Tremor of the Sun-Moon Samsara Technique and the Tongyu Phoenix Marrow Body. Kaiyan True Immortal gave us this cultivation technique for Shiyu and me to cultivate together. Did she not consider whether I would be able to master it? Lu Changxing spoke with a hint of helplessness. However, with the technique before his eyes, he naturally had no reason to shrink back. Immediately, he and Xiaoxia discussed the technique over tea, studying its intricacies in detail. After both gained a clear understanding of the first layer, they began to attempt its practice. Maintain the Tao heart constantly, do not let the conscious mind arise. In an instant, all things are void. The solar spirit is the golden crow, the lunar essence is the jade rabbit. When nature and sentiment merge, facing each other, Lu Changxing and Xiaoxia sat cross-legged, chanting the opening verse of the Sun-Moon Samsara technique, calming their mental spirits, ready to sense the heaven and earth, sun and moon, to harvest the solar spirit and lunar essence. As time slowly passed, Lu Changxing's mental spirit became increasingly tranquil, entering the state of cultivation. It felt like the surroundings were illusory, with a sun and moon hanging in the sky dome. The solar spirit from the jade rabbit, the lunar essence from the golden crow, gathered within the furnace, turning into a pool of water. Lu Changxing envisioned himself as a golden cauldron, absorbing the essence of the solar spirit, melting it into medicine for the human body. However, as he continued to accumulate and draw in the solar essence, the moon-shaped Minghua trembled opposite him, causing the sun and moon in the sky dome to suddenly vanish. As if waking from a dream, he opened his eyes. Changxing, I'm sorry. Xiaoxia's beautiful eyes opened, apologizing with a hint of shame. It was her first time practicing this cultivation technique, and she was still somewhat awkward in the process. This caused an error in the gathering of the solar spirit and lunar essence, affecting Lu Changxing and interrupting their practice. Lu Changxing froze, his thoughts in disarray. He hadn't expected that during the practice, it was Xiaoxia who failed, whereas his own practice flowed like clouds and water. What was going on? Could it be that he had an extraordinary talent for dual cultivation techniques, with an instant understanding? But he clearly did not fully comprehend this cultivation technique, mastering only the general principles. No matter, we just need to do it a few more times. Lu Changxing chuckled softly, speaking gently. Once again, the two resumed their cultivation. During the process, Lu Changxing grew increasingly proficient, gaining a deeper understanding of the Sun-Moon Samsara technique. He even had lateral thoughts, enhancing his comprehension of both techniques by drawing on the yin-yang harmony technique from his mind. This took Lu Changxing by surprise. He didn't know if it was due to his spiritual body or if he was naturally suited to this kind of technique. He was mastering it so quickly. Then, when Xiaoxia encountered problems again, causing another interruption in their cultivation, Lu Changxing shared his insights, pointing out the issues for her. Xiaoxia's eyes filled with admiration and awe as she watched Lu Changxing, despite feeling ashamed. In her early years, she had been praised by her master for her excellent comprehension. Yet now, her comprehension seemed trivial compared to Lu Changxing's. This filled her with amazement, proud of her sweetheart's unparalleled comprehension. Lu Changxing felt somewhat buoyed by Xiaoxia's admiring and idolizing gaze. After all, whether it was talisman making or alchemy he had attained in earlier years, although achieved through his own efforts, it was not as gratifying as success due to his innate talent. Thus, under Lu Changxing's continuous guidance and teaching, Xiaoxia gradually entered the state of cultivation, both entering a mystic state together. Above their heads seemed to hover a great sun and a bright moon, forming an invisible furnace, slowly beginning to burn and turn into medicine. Seeing this step, Lu Changxing naturally proceeded to the next. He circulated the mana of the solar spirit and lunar essence through the Bodhis orifices, merging and cycling them, transferring them into Xianxia. Xianxia let out a soft moan, immediately steadying her mental spirit. She circulated the medicine, the solar spirit, the lunar essence, and the mana she had absorbed within her Tao foundation. They turned into a warm, slippery sweetness which she slowly transferred into Lu Changsheng's mouth. This essence felt like a harmonious blend of yin and yang, constantly nourishing the pair's flesh, mana, providing a refreshing sensation throughout the body. As they merged as intimately as milk blends with water, the invisible cauldron above their heads became indistinctly visible, rotating like the turning of the sun and moon, slowly spinning. Following that, a rustling sound emerged. The green robe and the moon-white dress slipped aside as the two began the true dual cultivation steps, engaging in the harmony of yin and yang. In this process, for some reason, Lu Changxing was extremely skilled and natural, as if by instinct. Xianxia, though already Lu Changsheng's wife for many years, found maintaining mental tranquility and the operation of the technique through the tingling sensations akin to electric shocks particularly difficult, with many stumbles along the way. Fortunately, with Lu Changsheng's guidance in the operation of the Sun-Moon Samsara technique, the two barely managed to form a state of yin and yang circulation. Time passed, unmeasured. The two completed their first session of cultivation. At that moment, the Tao foundations of Lu Changsheng and Xianxia vibrated. It seemed as if a mysterious power quietly bloomed between the two as they engaged in dual cultivation, creating an indescribable state where, in a trance, they glimpsed the opportunity for soul fusion, a truly profound experience. After a long while, Lu Changsheng and Xianxia both opened their eyes and looked at each other. Changsheng, Xiaoxia's skin was like jade, emitting a soft luster, her face showing a faint blush, an endearing shyness overcoming her. Shiyu. Lu Changsheng tenderly embraced her, his palm gently caressing the fairy's jade body to soothe the lingering sensations. Much later, he sighed with emotion. This sun-moon samsara technique is incredibly profound. To think we would achieve such an effect after barely cultivating it for the first cycle. He and Xiaoxia had just engaged in dual cultivation and had only completed the first step, the coexistence of yin and yang. It would take at least 49 times of dual cultivation to potentially form a harmonious coexistence state, gradually evolving the sun and moon within themselves, reaching the stage of producing the profound pearl, and so on. But after just the first cultivation, not only had his cultivation levels slightly increased, but he also felt as if his entire being had been baptized. Knowing he had this cultivation technique, his chances of breaking through to core formation in the future and forming a superior gold core, a first-grade golden core had significantly increased. Xiaoxia nodded lightly in agreement, also sensing the profundity of the cultivation technique. Her beautiful eyes shone with light as she whispered softly, "If it weren't for you, Changsheng, I feel like in the midst of running the technique." Xiaoxia shared the problems she encountered during the cultivation process. Although they had completed a cycle of dual cultivation, the process could hardly be described as perfect. Had it not been for Lu Changsheng's guidance, Xiaoxia felt she was still lacking. This increased her recognition of Lu Changsheng's talent and comprehension. Shiyu, the true immortal, said that we should diligently cultivate this sun-moon samsara technique, so we must make the best use of our time. After a moment of tenderness, Lu Changsheng spoke softly, his hands filled with a rich and smooth overflow, looking at the moon palace fairy before him, their eyes meeting. Immediately after, accompanied by a breathy sigh, as the sun will turned, they began to meld together again like milk with water, yin and yang meeting. At this very moment, at the peak of Kaiyun Peak within the palace. Yun Wanshang slowly opened her beautiful eyes from a meditative state, her dignified and gorgeous face showing a hint of puzzlement. In the very instant just now, for some unknown reason, she felt an inexplicable palpitation. This palpitation was very faint. Even she did not know where it came from at that moment. But as a nascent soul immortal, if there was nothing amiss, she was unlikely to experience such sudden palpitations for no reason. What's going on? Yun Wanshang's eyebrows furrowed slightly, checking on herself without finding the source. She closed her eyes again and went back into meditation to regulate herself. Several hours later, Yun Wanshang's eyes suddenly snapped open. In that instant, she felt another faint, inexplicable palpitation. Yet this palpitation was so faint, and she still could not locate its origin. Could someone be divining my situation? Yun Wanshang's eyes, clear as water, carried a chill, wondering if someone was scheming against her. But in the next moment, she dismissed the thought. If it were divination, there would typically be some kind of premonition, a sense of destiny. Such a faint and traceless fluctuation would be impossible to find unless a nascent soul true lord had expended a great cost to divine or deduce it. I want to see what's going on. Yun Wanshang formed a gesture incantation with her hands, her soul leaving her body, enveloping the entire hall, and locking onto her physical body, trying to pinpoint the source of this palpitation. Since this unknown palpitation had occurred twice, it suggested the possibility of a third time. She did not know how much time had passed, but finally, she sensed the palpitation once again. How is this possible? Yun Wanshang traced the source of the palpitation, her stunning face filled with surprise, disbelief, and shock. She had just realized that this palpitation was not coming from the outside, it originated from within herself. It came from her Tongyu Phoenix marrow body. But apart from producing a strand of spirit-nurturing energy during her core formation breakthrough, her Tongyu Phoenix marrow body had no other effects. If there were to be an effect, it would be that through the method of dual cultivation and using the Tongyu Phoenix marrow body, one could continually nourish spirit-nurturing energy, thus growing stronger. What's going on? Yun Wanshang's brows were deeply furrowed, her mind full of doubts. She did not understand why her spiritual body would feel such a mysterious palpitation in that instant. Could it be, as if she had thought of something, her divine sense suddenly turned towards the midpoint of Kaiyun Peak, to Mingyue residence where Xiaoxia resided. Wuxia World. Site. Co. Chapter 913, Yun Wanshang. So this is what it looks like to be moved. Yun Wanshang's divine sense arrived at Mingyue residence. Although each cave mansion was protected by a barrier and prohibitions, which ordinary people could not enter, as the master of Kaiyun Peak, a nascent soul immortal, such simple barriers and prohibitions naturally could not block her divine sense. Instantly, a scene flashed before her eyes, sending tremors through her heart. The green robe and the moon-white dress lay tossed about carelessly on the floor, wordlessly recounting what had transpired here before. On the bed, a man with a well-built, smooth-lined body, radiating beauty, was closely intertwined with a perfect, mutton-fat jade-like moonlight treasure body. Above them, there seemed to be a sun and moon rotating, casting reflections upon their skin, creating a scene which, although somewhat indecorous, appeared stunningly beautiful, like a magnificent painting. Indeed, it's the sun-moon samsara technique. Seeing this, Yun Wanshang felt a sudden jolt in her heart, realizing the fluttering of her spiritual body was caused by the sun-moon samsara technique. Why is this happening? For the moment, she did not understand why Lu Changsheng and Xiaoxia's practice of the sun-moon samsara technique would cause her spiritual body to quiver. Could it be because of the spirit-nurturing energy? Yun Wanshang's brows furrowed slightly, guessing in her mind. Even as a nascent soul immortal, she did not know why their practice would affect her. But apart from the spirit-nurturing energy, she could think of no other reason. Shiyu, at this moment, Kaiyun True Immortal noticed her disciple, Xiao Shiyu, and her expression softened in surprise. Although Xiao Shiyu was never cold or emotionless when facing her as a master, she had never seen her disciple quite like this. Her exquisitely beautiful face was flushed with a bashful and timid allure. Her usually cool and indifferent eyes now held a tantalizing charm, like a plum blossom in the bitter cold of early spring, delicate and striking. Her black and lustrous hair was casually disheveled, with strands languidly falling across her full, rounded bosom. Her flawless jade body, under the glow of the sun-moon treasure wheel, glistened with sweat that rolled off like moonbeams, unspeakably beautiful. She must have just finished dual cultivation as her long, straight, elegantly curved legs were tense and trembling, causing her delicate and beautiful feet to continuously curl and stretch out, adorably resembling silkworms. So this is what it's like to feel passion. Inside the hall, Yun Wanshang, clad in a luxurious colorful palace dress, exuded a demeanor that combined 3 parts elegance with 3 parts chilly authority. Yet in her heart, she couldn't help but think of when she and Lu Changxing had extinguished the red phoenix karma fire. Was she also enticingly charming like this? She had always been in control, so certainly she would not have been like Shiyu. What was she even thinking about? Her initial plight was suffering from the karma fire, completely irrelevant to such matters. Phew. Yun Wanshang immediately retracted her divine sense, dispelling the thoughts in her mind and exhaling a long breath. But in this moment, she felt a faint warmth spreading throughout her body. It's been so long, and she still hasn't gone to the Luoyun mountain range. Yun Wanshang's beautiful eyes resembled water, and her stunning face cooled down as she spoke out loud. Immediately afterwards, she sent a message to notify the hall steward to make his way to Mingyue residence. If Xiao Shiyu had not yet set off for the Luoyun mountain range, she was to proceed there immediately, without further delay. Mingyue residence. In a simple and elegant room. It's all your fault, Xiao Shiyu, upon hearing from her maid Livlia that the peak steward had come to urge her to set off for the Luoyun mountain range, immediately blushed and looked reproachfully at Lu Changxing. She had planned to depart for the Luoyun mountain range after completing 2 rounds of dual cultivation. After all, the dual cultivation method of the Sun-Moon Samsara technique is not like those of the demon path or heretical path, which employed the energy drain technique. It values nature and moderation in all things. Continuous dual cultivation offers no benefit, it can even hinder progress in cultivation. But Lu Changxing had insisted this was a cultivation technique given by her master, and they should wholeheartedly practice and comprehend it. Otherwise, once in the Luoyun mountain range, separated by thousands of miles, it would not be easy for them to meet. Facing his persuasive words, Xiao Shiyu naturally followed Lu Changxing. After all, she was aware of the circumstances of the secret realm in the Luoyun mountain range. Once she left, she would have no time to return to see Lu Changxing and their daughter for a while. My fault, I lose track of time when I'm with you, Shiyu. Lu Changxing immediately responded with an apologetic smile, also feeling somewhat embarrassed. After all, his arrival to ask for marriage had already displeased Kaiyun True Immortal. Now having spent so much time in Kaiyun Peak, Kaiyun True Immortal must have guessed what the 2 of them were doing in Mingyue residence. It was indeed fortunate that she had not troubled him. After tidying up their clothes, they shared a brief moment of tenderness before departing Kaiyun Peak and the Qinyan sect. On a normal day, Xiao Shiyu would have gone to her master to bid farewell. But considering her actions, she felt too ashamed to meet her master. Shiyu, don't worry, I'll bring Wang Shu along to see you in the Luoyun mountain range when the time comes. Outside the gates of Qinyan sect, Lu Changxing gently bade farewell to Xiao Shiyu. Although it would be difficult for Xiao Shiyu to find time to return from the Luoyun mountain range, he could visit her there. Moreover, their daughter had come of age and could be taken out to gain some experience. Okay. Xiao Shiyu nodded softly in agreement. Shiyu, if you encounter danger in the secret realm, your life comes first, don't worry about wasting the talismans I gave you. If you have problems, you can write to me as well. Lu Changxing continued to advise. He was not worried about anything else, just that Xiao Shiyu might face danger in the secret realm. I understand, Changxing, don't worry. Xiao Shiyu responded softly. Having said their goodbyes, they each took to their flying artifacts and flew off in different directions. Wuxia World. Site. Ko. Chapter 914, Yun Wanshang. So this is what it looks like to be moved. That Mountain Lord Lu and Uncle Master Xiao seem quite extraordinary. Yeah, it's been about a month since Lu Changxing came to our Qinyan sect, hasn't it? Has he been staying at Kaiyun Peak all this time? Hiss, shocking, Master of Bihu Mountain, Lu Changxing, actually spent the night with Fairy Shiyu at Kaiyun Peak. Fairy Shiyu is pure as ice and as clean as jade, how could she possibly have any involvement with such a libertine? I've heard Lu Changxing is a second-order top-level talisman master as well as an alchemist, and he has an old acquaintance with senior sister Xiao, probably invited to make talismans and alchemy. That's right, I heard that senior sister Shiyu is exploring the secrets of the Luoyun mountain range, in need of many elixir medicines and talismans. Inside Qingyun's sect, because Lu Changxing had stayed so long at Kaiyun Peak, it sparked a bit of speculation. To such speculations, neither Lu Changxing nor Xiao Shiyu paid much attention, not taking it to heart. After all, their situations were much richer than what these people could imagine or guess. After returning to Bihu Mountain, Lu Changxing resumed his daily leisurely life. Every day, he would sit in meditation, make talismans, spend time with his wives under the flowers and moon, and teach his children. Considering the profound effects of the sun-moon samsara technique, which could aid in cultivation and breakthroughs. Kaiyun True Immortal hadn't instructed to keep the technique a secret, so after contemplating, Lu Changxing decided to teach it to Lu Miaoge, Ling Zixiao, and Bai Ling. After all, prolonged cultivation of this technique would benefit Lu Miaoge, Ling Zixiao, and Bai Ling greatly. As for Kaiyun True Immortal, considering his relationship with Xiao Shiyu, they were practically family. He would just have to look for a chance to properly express his gratitude and repay the favor in the future. Ling Zixiao and Lu Miaoge's situation was similar to that of Xiao Shiyu. It was difficult for them to cultivate this technique and required the guidance of Lu Changxing. However, Bai Ling showed an exceptional talent in this area and her cultivation process was very much in harmony with Lu Changxing's. This made Lu Changxing secretly wonder if teaching Bai Ling the Black Dragon Codex was a mistake. At this time, Lu Changxing considered his talent in dual cultivation techniques and decided to take a technique from Hong Lian to try and comprehend for cultivation. After trying for a long time, Lu Changxing confirmed his talent for yin and yang dual cultivation techniques. Could it be that my talent lies in dual cultivation techniques? Or is the effect related to the flawless heavenly fragrance body? He frowned slightly, pondering in his mind. He suspected he might indeed have a natural talent for yin and yang dual cultivation. It could also be related to the flawless heavenly fragrance body. After all, apart from these two reasons, he couldn't think of any other explanation. If this spiritual body is really related to dual cultivation, Nangong Mili wouldn't let her daughter take the wrong path, would she? Lu Changxing paused sharply, suddenly thinking. Although the righteous path does have yin and yang dual cultivation techniques like the sun-moon samsara technique, such techniques are absolutely not as common in the demonic path as they are in the righteous path. The dual cultivation of the demonic path doesn't care for the shared feelings or similar cultivation levels benefiting both parties, like the sun-moon samsara technique does. It's simply two words: absorption. To harm others in order to strengthen oneself. Compared to the righteous dual cultivation, the demonic path's dual cultivation absorption technique is a lot more straightforward and brutal. Although such a technique could lead to hollow and weak mana foundations, instability of mind, and vulnerability to entering a demonic state, and make the heavenly tribulation and heart demon tribulation during nascent soul more difficult than for the righteous cultivator, it definitely is a good choice for cultivators with poor talents who only seek chi refinement and foundation establishment, or those cultivators who are suited for a dual cultivation physique. Although Nangong Mili is a practitioner of the demonic path, she surely cannot be that mindless. Besides, with Yao Yao's second-grade spiritual root and exceptional talent, she has the potential to achieve core formation in the future, so why resort to such deviant and crooked methods? Lu Changxing shook his head. He felt that Nangong Mili, despite being a demonic path cultivator, wouldn't go to such lengths. But this still made him more concerned about his daughter, who was far away in Jin Kingdom. Because such physiques not only benefited her own cultivation but also made her suitable as a dual cultivation cauldron. And there were rumors that many demonic path cultivators liked to cultivate cauldrons, human pills, for their breakthroughs. With nascent soul immortal Nangong Mili there probably won't be any problems. But among nascent soul cultivators, Nangong Mili's combat strength seems quite ordinary. If possible, it would still be best to bring Yao Yao to Jiang country sooner rather than later. It's definitely much safer. Lu Changxing murmured to himself, letting out a long sigh. His concern about his daughter's situation was not only worry, there was also some guilt. Although this daughter was an accident, he couldn't deny his anticipation for her birth at the time. After all, the higher the cultivation of the parents, the better the spiritual root talent of the child they conceive. He had coveted the spiritual root talent of the child that Nangong Mili would give birth to. But now, so many years after the child was born, he had never seen her as a father. If his daughter were to encounter any accidents in the Five Poisons cult, or suffer any mishaps in her growth, he wouldn't know how to face it. Core formation, I need to achieve core formation quickly. After core formation, I can go to Jin Kingdom's Five Poisons cult to see if I can bring Yao Yao home. Lu Changxing took a deep breath and let it out, feeling a sense of urgency in his heart. He immediately got up and went to Changxing Hall, picking up Bai Ling, who was wearing a flowing white fairy skirt, with a pure and beautiful face and an enchanting figure, and holding her in his arms, he began to cultivate with great effort. The night fell. A young man with a well-proportioned and robust look, broad-chested and upright, tall in stature, and looking like a wanderer from the Jianghu, rode a tall horse through the desolate countryside. He saw an old temple in the distance and briskly rode his horse there. The temple was overgrown and filled with cobwebs, looking somewhat unsettling. But the young man skillfully lit a bonfire and took out a large chunk of demon beast meat from his storage bag to roast. Wuxia World. Site. Co. Chapter 9:15, Yun Wanshang. So this is what it looks like to be moved. Tomorrow, after another day on the road, we should arrive at Yu Town. Lu Pingan took out a bundle of wanted posters and examined them briefly. Over the years, he had traveled abroad but had not ventured into mountainous battles nor explored ancient cave mansions. Simply traveling at his own pace, whenever he heard of demons causing trouble somewhere, he would go and take a look. Along the way, he picked up various bounties to eliminate evildoers, parasitic cultivators, and the like. After more than 2 years, he had traveled thousands of miles to reach Qingyun Market. According to his plan, his next trip was to Zhuoxiao Immortal City. However, the iron feather eagle provided by his family had been slain by a robber cultivator along the way, forcing him to abandon the idea of going to Zhuoxiao Immortal City. He planned to consider traveling to Zhuoxiao Immortal City only after he broke through to the energy refinement late stage. After all, this trip had also exposed him to the various dangers of the cultivation world. It was not as simple as the time he and Qin Yi traveled in the secular cultivation world. Little Un, it's time to eat. At this moment, Lu Pingan took out a wooden carving and spoke out loud. A wind stirred, and a pale-faced, handsome, insubstantial boy around 5 or 6 years old appeared from the black wooden carving. This was a ghost slave. Lu Pingan had obtained it when he took on a bounty and slew a parasitic cultivator. It was not really considered a gain. Simply put, after he slew the parasitic cultivator, he saw this little ghost looking dazed. Thinking about the pitiful lives people had before being turned into ghost slaves, especially since the other party had been transformed at such a young age, he decided not to kill it but rather set it free. But the little ghost would not leave, seemingly clinging to him. Faced with this situation, Lu Pingan was helpless. Knowing that the ghost would not survive if set free, he decided to keep it with him. Since the little ghost could not speak, he named it Little Un, using "an" from his own name, Pingan. Little Un shyly and obediently looked at Lu Pingan. "Eat up, I'm starting my meal too." Lu Pingan eyed the Little Un in front of him, pretended to pat its head with his palm, then voraciously ate the demon beast meat he was holding. Upon hearing this, Little Un moved closer, hugged Lu Pingan's neck, and gently drew his yang energy. There were many methods for feeding ghosts in the cultivation world. But Lu Pingan did not understand those methods, nor would he learn such destructive and unethical techniques. Thus, knowing that the little ghost survived by drawing yang energy, he used his own qi and spiritual power to nourish Little Un. His martial path was exceptional, and because he practiced the 100 Refinements treasure body art, his qi blood was healthy, and it didn't affect him to have Little Un draw a little. He could recover after just a sleep. Over the year of nourishing him, Little Un had changed from its original dazed state, gaining a bit of spirituality. It could understand everything Lu Pingan said. Even when spending the night outdoors, it could help keep watch or scout the surroundings for any spirit grass, spiritual medicine, or spiritual treasures. After absorbing a couple of mouthfuls of qi blood to maintain its form, Little Un quietly lay on Lu Pingan's shoulder, watching him feast without showing any fierce or ghostly aura. Littleun. Just then, Lu Pingon seemed to hear a noise and spoke towards Littleun. Having been together so long, no extra words were needed. Littleun understood what he meant. It immediately transformed into a Een wind and returned into the wooden carving in Lu Pingan's hand. This carving was an expensive purchase by Lu Pingon, costing 33 spirit stones at a gathering of loose cultivators. Carved from the heart of a century-old Sephora tree, it could house souls. Though it pained him for a long time, Littleun seemed to like the carving very much. In a moment. Creak. The door of the dilapidated temple was pushed open. A woman dressed in an emerald palace gown with a voluptuous and slender figure entered, holding a baby. Young hero. Seeing Lu Pingon by the fire, the woman quickly bowed in greeting. My name is Chi, on my way back home to visit relatives when I encountered thugs along the way. Thankfully, I escaped here with the help of my family's guards. I wonder if you could lend a hand and help us, mother and son. If you could lend a hand, I will certainly remember your great kindness. Her charming face, rushed expression, doe-eyed look seeming to emanate tenderness with her large expanse of pale skin at the shoulders and the neckline revealing a fair bit of skin proved to be quite enticing. Lu Pingon, upon hearing this, looked deeply at the woman and the child she held, and spoke. Madam, you may rest here for now. Should there truly be villains, I will do my utmost to ensure your safety. Thank you, young hero. The woman immediately expressed her gratitude and came over, taking a seat by Lu Pingan's fire quite naturally. A strong scent wafted through the air, causing Lu Pingon to slightly shift backward and focus his gaze on the roasted meat in his hand. Because he was much taller than she, from this angle he could instantly see the fair skin inside her neckline. I wonder how your martial skills are, young hero. That group of thugs are extremely skilled and vicious, the woman continued speaking. Not bad. Lu Pingon said in a low voice, handing over a piece of dry food to her. Thank you, young hero. The woman thanked him, accepting the dry food but not eating. Instead, she kept initiating conversation with Lu Pingon, seemingly very uneasy, using this method to find some relief. Bang! Just then, the temple door was suddenly kicked open with great force. Outside, under the night sky, suddenly appeared over a dozen tall and agile figures dressed in black nightclothes, wielding fine steel knives. Their faces were covered, only their eyes visible. We found them here, attack. The men in black, upon seeing the woman and Lu Pingon inside the temple, immediately spoke out coldly. It's not too late to leave now, Wuxia world. Sight. Co. Chapter 9:16, Yun Wanshang. So this is what being moved looks like. _4 Lu Pingon suddenly arose and faced the black-clad men, his tall and imposing stature seemingly enveloping the surroundings with an invisible pressure. Kill. Despite a moment of hesitation, the black-clad men mustered their courage and charged at the woman and Lu Pingon. Ha! Lu Pingon bellowed, his voice full of vigor, as he shot forward at an unbelievably fast speed. The moment his fist swung, it seemed as though it struck at all the black-clad men simultaneously. Instantly, it seemed as though a huge dragon had trampled toward them, rendering the men feeling isolated and helpless, overwhelmed by the unstoppable force. Bang bang bang, dash, bang bang bang. In just a moment, the span of a breath, everyone on the field had received a punch from Lu Pingon, sending them flying backward or retreating, their bodies convulsing and their faces pale. You still have time to retreat now. Lu Pingon looked at the black-clad men. He did not pursue them to their deaths but continued to speak. He could tell that these people's intent to kill the woman was even less than his own. These men must have been instructed to kill him, yet they still didn't know his circumstances. Clap clap clap, dash, suddenly, applause broke out. 6 figures then emerged from the darkness. They were a mix of men and women, both old and young. One of the elderly men praised Lu Pingon, as expected of the recent notable bounty hunter, martial god Lu Pingon. Your strength is indeed impressive. Martial god Lu Pingon? On hearing this title, Lu Pingon raised his eyebrows slightly and showed a trace of amusement. He didn't expect that by taking on bounties under a new name, he would acquire such a nickname. But it sounded quite appealing. He realized that the 6 people before him were cultivators and spoke calmly. I should have no grievances with you, right? Indeed, we bear no grudges, but we cultivators with no hope in cultivation have come to the secular world only seeking a life of prosperity and comfort. You aim to annihilate us completely, breaking the rules. If we don't eliminate you, how can we be at peace? One of the men in black robes spoke coldly. There are many parasitic and heretic cultivators in the secular world. As long as they don't overdo it, the imperial court turns a blind eye to them. After all, dealing with them all is very troublesome and there are simply not enough hands. But lately, Lu Pingan had been issuing bounties and consecutively killing many parasitic cultivators in the secular world. This made them perturbed, and they eventually decided to take the initiative to attack Lu Pingan. Cultivators should not interfere in secular matters, and if you had come here merely to enjoy prosperity, I wouldn't bother you. For committing unbearable atrocities, even without my involvement, someone else would have surely come after you, Lu Pingan said solemnly, his tall figure clad in a blue robe. As he spoke, a hint of murderous intent flashed in his eyes as he looked at them. Before, those black-clad men were just secular mortals, martial arts experts, hence he had not been ruthless. But with these parasitic cultivators, he would show no mercy. Lu Pingan, since you've gained an immortal fate and stepped onto the path of immortality, why bother with these muddy waters? You must know, the cultivation world is hardly a place for performing heroic deeds. A pretty young girl in red said, her voice hoarse and her hands as aged as tree bark, clearly maintaining her youth through some technique. Why waste words with him? An old woman spoke and then, looking greedily at Lu Pingan, she said, today, forcing so many of us to act against you, even if you die, you can be proud. As she spoke, she slammed her cane on the ground, causing it to shatter and creating shards of earth that shot towards Lu Pingan. However, in that very moment, Lu Pingan had already moved, his physical body radiated a divine light, tearing through the air like a predatory animal, and when he stepped down, a crater formed on the ground. Entangling technique. Golden light technique. Flame bullet technique. Earth spike technique. Although these cultivators were all at the 6th level or 7th level of energy refinement, they only knew some basic techniques. Facing the attacking Lu Pingan, they simultaneously cast their techniques and wielded their magic artifacts. Boom! Lu Pingan's fist was momentarily blocked by the golden light technique. But his fist seemed to burst with purple gold true chi, shattering that layer of golden light directly. PFF. The old man who cast the golden light technique stumbled, spitting blood and his face pale and drained. What strong power! Seeing this, everyone's face turned grim, realizing Lu Pingan's strength was even greater than they had imagined. Unable to understand why someone of his age and power would waste time wandering the secular world when he clearly had a promising future. They felt their prospects were hopeless. But for someone like Lu Pingan, his potential was clearly vast. Crack. Just then, a man in a black robe brandished a small knife, striking towards a vital spot on Lu Pingan's back. Lu Pingan's robe was instantly torn, revealing an armored magic artifact underneath. But around him was a dense, invisible true chi acting as a barrier. In addition to dual cultivation of magical and physical techniques, he was also at the pinnacle of the martial path. His innate true chi was like gang chi, powerful enough to slay a mid-stage energy refinement cultivator. Bang bang bang, dash, Lu Pingan, like a god of war, blazed in divine light, and even facing 6 opponents, he remained unyielding. Everyone, attack! These 6 did not dare to engage Lu Pingan in close combat, so they kept their distance, ordering the black-clad men to attack him, continuing to deploy various techniques. Under heavy reward, there must be brave men. These black-clad men had come for the chance of an immortal fate and, hearing this command, did not hesitate. But to face Lu Pingan was to embrace death, their bodies blown away with each of his punches. Even though Lu Pingan was holding back slightly, otherwise a single punch would have completely shattered them. Seeing their fearless charge, Lu Pingan no longer held back. His punches thundered out, turning them into a mist of blood. Wuxia World. Site. Co. Chapter 917, Yun Wanshang. So this is what it looks like to be moved _5, Savior. Help. Just then, the woman holding the baby cried out to Lu Pingan in terror. Faced with this, Lu Pingan didn't pay any heed. He had been called simple-minded by his father, mother, and even Qin Yi, but he wasn't actually foolish. How could he fail to see that there was something wrong with this woman? It's just that he felt some pity for her, seeing her with a child in her arms, so he didn't make a big issue of it. At this moment, witnessing the gang of 6 attacking, he naturally knew the woman was in cahoots with these assailants. Wah! At that moment, the baby in the woman's arms burst into loud cries. Lu Pingan, slightly distracted by the crying, glanced at the woman. He saw her about to strike the baby with her palm. At this sight, he immediately extended his hand, conjuring an invisible giant hand from spiritual power, intending to snatch the baby from the woman's grasp. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Seeing this, the other 6 attackers seized the opportunity and immediately directed their techniques at both Lu Pingan and the baby. Boom boom boom, a spiritual energy shield formed around Lu Pingan, protecting both him and the baby, as he quickly deployed a golden bell shield talisman. But the assault from so many techniques made the golden bell around him dim considerably. This kid even has a superior grade talisman. Hurry up and attack, don't give him a chance to breathe. At this point, don't hold back. If he has any more tricks up his sleeve, we might all end up dead here. The 6 parasitic cultivators, seeing the situation, all changed their expressions and shouted aloud together. At this moment, they didn't dare to hold back, for fear Lu Pingan had more tricks up his sleeve. At this time, the little ghost, inside the wooden carving in Lu Pingan's arms, appeared, screaming sharply, wanting to help him fight back. Go back. Lu Pingan immediately said. Little An was just an ordinary ghost. If hit by a technique, she would likely become unstable and be destroyed. Little An continued to scream, moving to attack the baby in Lu Pingan's arms. The baby in his arms suddenly let out a piercing cry, making Lu Pingan feel his mental spirit falter. Then, the baby's fair skin rapidly turned blue-black and fierce, lunging at Lu Pingan. Little An immediately tightly grasped the ghost infant to keep it from attacking Lu Pingan. Boom boom boom. Simultaneously, a barrage of techniques bombarded Lu Pingan, shattering his golden light barrier talisman. He was flung sideways, emitting a muffled groan. Good, Mrs. Chi's plan is indeed brilliant. The 6 onlookers, all delighted by the scene, continued their assault on Lu Pingan. They had investigated and analyzed why they should move against Lu Pingan. They knew the weaknesses of such a young man, who was full of righteousness and liked to act heroically. Damn! Lu Pingan hadn't expected the baby to be a ghost infant, leading to his downfall. At this moment, he saw the previously frail and pitiable woman in the distance, her demeanor completely transformed, her hands forming gesture incantations, casting techniques. Obviously, she was no mortal, but a cultivator. She had simply concealed her cultivation base aura somehow. Lu Pingan had no time to think further and hurriedly brought out a small magic artifact shield to position in front of him. Then, his body surged with blood energy as he reached toward the ghost infant. With one grasp, he crushed it, dispersing its soul, and shouted to Little An, "Go back, An." Hearing this, Little An didn't dare to disobey and immediately retreated into the wooden carving. Bang bang bang, however, in an instant, another volley of techniques came at him. Escape. Lu Pingan used the small shield to block the offensive, but being at the 6th level of energy refinement, he still couldn't help but feel his blood energy churn as he faced such onslaught. He didn't continue to stand his ground and instead blasted through the dilapidated temple like a human cannonball, fleeing outside. As the saying goes, one can hardly stand up against multiple foes. One-on-one, he could have easily taken any of them down. But facing the 7 of them attacking together proved too much for him. Moreover, the 13 talismans his father had given him had largely been used up in the previous escape, leaving him with only a few. Chase him. He's been poisoned by me and won't get far. Mrs. Qi, who had previously held the baby, said coldly, dashing in the direction Lu Pingan had fled. At this time, she seemed like a different person entirely, with a gloomy and cold expression on her face. We absolutely can't let him escape. This man is not only exceptionally skilled in martial path body refinement but also possesses superior grade talismans and at least 3 magic artifacts. The other 6, realizing this, continuously formed gesture incantations, casting techniques, chasing after Lu Pingan. After all, Lu Pingan's capabilities represented an opportunity for them. Not good, I've been poisoned. After running for a while, Lu Pingan felt something was wrong, realizing he had been poisoned. He had always been knowledgeable about poisons and his cultivation technique had some resistance to them. But his opponents had come prepared, or more specifically, they had targeted him, leaving him caught off guard. Alas, it's just like my parents said, my nature will lead to trouble sooner or later. But I just can't change. A bitter smile appeared on Lu Pingan's face. Not daring to delay, he took out his last escape talisman for escaping. Buzz, as the talisman in his hand activated and burned, Lu Pingan was enveloped by it, transforming into a divine rainbow shooting forth. Wuxia World. Site. Co. Chapter 9:18. Could this child be the descendant of a nascent soul true lord? Under the night sky, in the desolate outskirts. Bang! Lu Pingan emerged from the ground with the help of an escape talisman, looking around to assess the situation. After a quick observation, he took out a detoxification pill from his storage bag and swallowed it, then, with a whoosh, he ran towards the dense forest beside him. Although the escape talisman had the effect of concealing his form, this group of pursuers clearly came prepared and might have some means to track him. Therefore, he needed to find a safe place to expel the poison and heal. Sizzle. Sizzle. Even though he was poisoned and his body was gradually feeling numb and burning, Lu Pingan's running speed was still very fast. Like a cheetah, he sprinted, leaving only afterimages and tearing through the air, creating a long stream of energy that stirred up sounds like cascading river water in the quiet forest. Roar. 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 Screech. 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 The noises Lu Pingan made awakened the bird calls and the cries of beasts in the forest. But even if tigers and leopards appeared in front of him, he would either send them flying with a collision or casually shatter them. Sizzle. Sizzle. After roughly running 100 miles, Lu Pingan saw a cliff in front of him. Immediately, he summoned his flying sword and controlled the artifact to enter the woods below, continuing to run for a long time. Feeling the poison spreading in his body and starting to affect him, only then did he stop to find a place to start the detoxification and healing process. Swoosh. At the same time, a mass of dark qi burst forth. It was the ghost slave Shaoan from a wooden carving he carried. Shaoan looked at Lu Pingan with caring eyes shining in his dark pupils. Shaoan, I'll have to trouble you to keep watch for me, Lu Pingan said with a grin. His face was pale and tired, and his forehead was covered with sweat beads, showing he had expended a lot of energy. Shaoan nodded, his pale and delicate face taking on a serious expression, then floated next to Lu Pingan, watching over the surroundings. Lu Pingan took out another detoxification pill to swallow and sat cross-legged to circulate the purple true solar scripture for detoxification and healing. A while later. What kind of poison is this? It's as tenacious as a bone-attaching sore, Lu Pingan frowned, realizing that the poison was not simple and was difficult to dispel, much like a bone-attaching sore. Even as he channeled his energies, the poison eroded his spiritual power and spread faster. Unbeknownst to him, this poison was none other than the unique poison elixir corpse soul fragrance, concocted by Lady Qi. Ordinary energy refining cultivators poisoned by it would soon become rigid and limp, and then their flesh would wither and decay. Additionally, the poison would use the cultivator's spiritual power as nourishment, causing it to spread and propagate. Due to Lu Pingan's exceptional achievements on the martial path and having reached the third layer of the 100 Refinements treasure body art, he was still unaffected. It was only after undergoing a battle and running hundreds of miles that he felt the poison gradually taking its toll. This situation was incredibly astonishing. 100 Refinements treasure body art. Lu Pingan's face tensed with concentration as he circulated the 100 Refinements treasure body technique, maneuvering his blood and qi while his body shone with the treasure light, attempting to expel the poison. Realizing the poison was difficult to expel, he thought of his 100 Refinements treasure body technique's poison resistance, which rendered ordinary poisons ineffective against him. He immediately attempted to refine and dissipate the spreading poison with the 100 Refinements treasure body technique. Just as I thought. A moment later, a hint of joy appeared in Lu Pingan's eyes. Refining the poison, however, left his body somewhat stiff and powerless, needing some time to recover. If I were to refine all of the poison, I'd probably be weakened for several days, Lu Pingan mused. But I can't let this poison linger any longer. After some thought, he did not hesitate to fully activate the 100 Refinements treasure body art to refine the poison. Time passed slowly. Daylight gradually crept across the sky. Lu Pingan opened his eyes and said to Xiaowen beside him, "Xiaowen, come back." For a ghost like Xiaowen, encountering the fierce sunlight could destabilize his soul and prevent him from appearing during the day. So, during the day he would keep him inside the wooden carving, not letting him out. "I'm all right." Seeing the hint of worry on Xiaowen's face, he spoke with an easygoing expression. Hearing this, Xiaowen turned into a puff of black qi and went back into the wooden carving. "Ugh, I feel sore all over, this really isn't a pleasant sensation." Lu Pingan looked up at the sky, stretched his limbs as he got up, and murmured as he looked towards the cliff, "I wonder if they've stopped chasing me." Energy refining cultivators may have plenty of tracking methods. But beyond 100 miles, it becomes very difficult to find someone. And considering he ran straight for hundreds of miles, any chances of being followed at the end were minuscule. Moreover, these were loose cultivators who could not make it in the cultivation world, so even if they had some means, they wouldn't get very far. If I had decided to fight quickly from the start, they wouldn't have stood a chance against me. Lu Pingan took a piece of demon beast meat from his storage bag, ate as he replayed the last night's battle in his mind. He knew that if he had not been soft-hearted and caught in an ambush, ending in a disadvantageous situation, he could have easily defeated them one by one. Sigh. He laughed helplessly, without any regret, taking it as a lesson learned to be more cautious in the future. After eating and drinking his fill, he continued to cultivate to expel the poison and heal his injuries. Unknown time passed. Roar. Lu Pingan heard a roar accompanied by a stench that wafted through the air. A demon beast. Lu Pingan's eyes snapped open as he realized the situation was dire. He knew this was not a wild animal but a demon beast. He was currently stiff and weak, dealing with ordinary wild animals was no problem. But a demon beast could pose a danger. "Let's go." Lu Pingan did not hesitate. He immediately sealed his pores, concealed his breath, and silently flew away. After a long while, realizing he had left the activity range of the demon beast, he breathed a sigh of relief and found a place to continue healing. Quack, quack. Later, Lu Pingan heard some rustling and a clear female voice. Wuxia World. Site. Co. Chapter 919. Could this child be the descendant of a nascent soul true lord? Lu Pingan immediately assumed an alert expression. At such depths of the great mountain, where demon beasts left their trails, how could a person possibly appear? And judging by the girl's voice, she couldn't be more than in her teens. Thus, he immediately took caution, held his breath, crouched down, and used the bushes for cover to minimize any noise he might make. Swish, swish, swish. Before long, he saw a several-inch-long black centipede wriggling through the sand like a fish, coming into view before him. The sight of Lu Pingan prompted wisps of blood-evil energy to emanate from the centipede. This is bad. Lu Pingan promptly raised his hand intending to slap the centipede to death. However, the centipede turned out to be as hard as metal, incredibly tough, and even bit him on the palm. The pain had barely started when Lu Pingan felt his entire body stiffen and weaken, unable to move. The corpse soul sense suppressed within him began to agitate. He realized that this was no ordinary centipede but likely some poisonous insect of a demon beast. Gurgle, gurgle. Not far away, a fist-sized vermilion toad heard the commotion and immediately leaped towards them. Seeing this, the black centipede made a swish sound and directly burrowed into Lu Pingan's mouth. Even though Lu Pingan had seen much in his life, this situation was a first for him, and a look of terror couldn't help but appear in his eyes. However, what made his skin crawl even more happened next. The red vermilion toad actually hopped onto his face and began burrowing into his mouth, seemingly chasing after the black centipede. This scenario made Lu Pingan, paralyzed and powerless, break out in goosebumps, desperately wanting to struggle but unable to move. Gurgle, gurgle. Immediately, a sharp pain racked his abdomen. He tried to activate his cultivation technique to force out the two poisonous creatures, but his techniques hardly functioned. Quack. Just then, a girl about 13 or 14 years old, dressed in a pale red dress, with curved eyebrows and a lively, adorable face, ran over in haste. She looked at the vermilion toad that had burrowed into Lu Pingan's mouth and asked with a panicked and worried expression, "Big brother, are you okay?" I'm sorry, little Kwa, please come out." The girl apologized to Lu Pingan and continued to call into his mouth. However, the vermilion toad inside Lu Pingan did not respond at all, fighting with the ironback centipede. Faced with this situation, Lu Pingan's pale face turned purple and red, changing color as he felt extreme pain throughout his body and his consciousness grew duller and hazier, gradually blurring. I can't pass out. Lu Pingan knew he absolutely couldn't faint and continued to exert all his effort into activating his cultivation technique. But the pain in his body made his consciousness fainter and fainter as if entering a dark abyss. Just then, a tremor surged through his body as if a cluster of faint starlight emerged before his eyes. Granny! Granny! Seeing Lu Pingan seemingly about to faint, tears welled up in the girl's eyes as she called out loudly. She took out a crystal stone and crushed it in her hand. In no time, a rainbow light shot from the sky, transforming into an elderly woman with white hair, an aged face yet a spry spirit, wielding a snake-shaped staff. The old woman looked at the girl and asked with concern, "Miss, what happened?" Granny, little Kwa was chasing an ironback centipede, which then burrowed into this big brother's mouth, and little Kwa followed it in. The girl said urgently upon seeing the old woman. What? Hearing this, the old woman looked toward the delirious Lu Pingan, murderous intent flashing in her eyes. Granny, please save him. The tearful girl pitifully pleaded with the old woman. Miss, the cinnabar toad itself is extremely poisonous, and once it enters the body, this man is undoubtedly doomed to die, not to mention the presence of an ironback centipede wreaking havoc on his organs. And we cannot reveal our presence while we are out here, the old woman said, her murderous intent receding and turning into a caring gaze. But, this big brother doesn't seem like a bad person. The girl lifted her head and said softly. Miss, looks can be deceiving, and the heart inscrutable. This man suddenly showing up here, and as a cultivator, clearly poses a problem, stated the old woman, her gaze toward Lu Pingan still laced with murderous intent. Humph. At that moment, the starlight in Lu Pingan's consciousness grew brighter and brighter, prompting a grunt from him as a surge of strength flowed through his body, and his consciousness returned a bit. The 100 Refinements treasure body art within him began to operate automatically. Boom! 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 As the 100 Refinements treasure body art automatically functioned, the gigantic axe magical treasure he had condensed into his body seemed to be stimulated, its magical treasure's origin continuously flowing out, subduing both the centipedes and the vermilion toad, suppressing the poison and incorporating it into Lu Pingan's limbs and organs. What's going on here? The old woman saw that Lu Pingan, under such circumstances, not only hadn't died but was gradually recovering, his body filled with a terrifying aura. Big brother, are you alright? Seeing this, the young girl called out to Lu Pingan with concern. Then, she turned to the old woman with a somewhat pleading look and said, "Granny, please save him. This is the aura of a magical treasure." How could there be the aura of a magical treasure within his body? The old woman stared at Lu Pingan, constantly sizing him up, her eyebrows tightly furrowed and her eyes filled with disbelief. Immediately, she placed a hand on Lu Pingan's shoulder to examine his condition. This boy is obviously only at the 6th level energy refinement stage. How can he have the aura of a magical treasure within him? There's definitely a problem, absolutely a problem. However, he doesn't seem like someone who's here to pursue the young lady. This child actually has a magical treasure sealed inside him. The old woman checked Lu Pingan's condition. When she saw the magical treasure's origin emerging continuously from Lu Pingan's chest, realizing that a magical treasure was sealed within him, she was shocked, feeling like a storm was raging in her heart. One must understand, this was a magical treasure. A magical treasure that only nascent soul cultivators could control. Although this magical treasure should be of low grade, at most a low-quality magical treasure. But to have a magical treasure sealed within the body of an energy-refining cultivator was astonishing. Such a feat definitely was the work of a great cultivator. This is a 3rd-rank talisman. Not only is there a magical treasure sealed within, but also a 3rd-rank talisman. Could this child be the descendant of some nascent soul true lord? The old woman then noticed a spirit talisman in Lu Pingan's sea of consciousness between his eyebrows, her heart churning like an overturned river. She didn't know what kind of spirit talisman it was. But through its form and aura, she could roughly identify it as a 3rd-rank spirit talisman. It was likely one of the life-saving talismans. For a cultivator at the 6th level of energy refinement to not only have a magical treasure sealed within but also harbor a 3rd-rank talisman was remarkable. The situation immediately made her feel like she was in a thorny dilemma and she dared not kill Lu Pingan. After all, with such people, who knew the existence behind them? If offended, it was highly likely to cause trouble. She had come all the way to Jianghu country with the young girl to avoid strife, not wanting to get involved in right and wrong. The young miss is innocent by nature, and when she returns to her clan in the future, she will certainly face many obstacles and troubles. If this child really is the descendant of a true lord or perhaps a lucky individual with a great fate, it would be a good thing for the young miss to form a bond of goodwill with him. The old woman pondered continuously, the killing intent in her eyes gradually dissipating as she said to the young girl with a look of tenderness, "Don't worry, miss, I will save him now." As she spoke, mana flowed into Lu Pingan's body, intending to extract the weakened centipedes and vermilion toad. However, she watched as Lu Pingan's cultivation technique operated automatically, refining the ironback centipede and the vermilion toad, her expression stopping for a moment. She could see that it was the poison of these two creatures that had stimulated Lu Pingan's body, causing his cultivation technique to operate automatically and nourishing his physical body with the endlessly emerging magical treasure's origin. If she extracted the two creatures, his current state would cease. To nourish the body with a magical treasure is indeed a grand gesture. After pondering for a moment, the old woman decided to let Lu Pingan continue refining. After all, with his cultivation level, possessing such treasures, it was very likely that he was the direct disciple of some true person or true monarch out on a trial. Given that, she would go with the flow and give him an opportunity. This vermilion toad was her young miss pet, and if he refined it, it would also mean owing her young miss a favor. "Miss, I see that the little gua and the ironback centipede have formed a balance within him, elevating his cultivation level. If we interfere, we might kill him, but if we leave it be, the little gua will be refined." The old woman said this to the young girl. Her words were not only for the young miss to hear but also for Lu Pingan. The young girl felt conflicted and pained upon hearing this. Although she wanted to save someone, she also cherished her own pet. But after some hesitation, she still chose to save the person. Hearing this, the old woman couldn't help but sigh inwardly, feeling that her young miss was too kind-hearted. With such a kind nature, how would she survive in the world of cultivation? Wuxia World. Site. Co. Chapter 920, True Immortal Level Technique, the first drop of myriad spirits heaven dew. By Lake Mountain. Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. Lu Changxing, holding his daughter Lu Lingyi, allowed Mount Sumeru to plant various spirit flowers and spirit grasses according to his wishes. These spirit plants were gifts from Zhao Qingqing and were meant for ornamental purposes. Not only do they not consume spiritual energy, but they also purify it and freshen the air. There could be no better place for them than in the Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. Aha! Lu Lingyi exclaimed in surprise each time a plant was put in place. Lu Lingxiao, squatting on the ground, watched the scene quietly. However, once he saw a pure spirit flower being planted ahead, he immediately wobbled over to the flower, examining it carefully. Daddy, flower. Seeing her brother's actions, the daughter in Lu Changsheng's arms immediately pointed at the pure spirit flower and exclaimed, indicating that she also wanted to go see the flower. Lu Changsheng chuckled lightly and promptly placed his daughter in front of the pure spirit flower. The little one tilted her head, looked at it a few times, then opened her mouth wide and ate a petal. Silly thing, why do you put everything in your mouth? Lu Changxing was somewhat speechless and picked up his chubby daughter, urging her to let go. Aha! However, the little one refused to open her mouth and looked like she was about to cry with a pitiful face. Come on, be good, if you're hungry drink this. Lu Changxing took out a baby bottle from his storage bag and shook it in front of her. After chewing on the flower petal twice, Lu Lingyi decided it didn't taste good, and that the bottle's contents were much better. She finally let go of the petal and hugged the bottle, drinking contentedly. Seeing Lu Lingxiao sitting quietly beside him, Lu Changxing also placed a baby bottle in his mouth. This baby bottle contains strengthen the essence and cultivate the origin spiritual liquid, carefully prepared by Master Lu himself. Not only does it strengthen the foundation and cultivate the origin, but it's also very suitable for human babies. The only drawback is that it costs more than double the price of elemental elixir, and babies can only absorb a limited amount of its medicinal effect. However, now that the family was better off and his children had good talents, he, as a father, naturally would do whatever possible to give his children a head start. The two little ones sat squatting on the ground, holding their bottles, their faces the picture of quiet contentment. Soon after, Mount Sumeru had completely arranged the cave heaven. Not bad, it finally looks a bit like a pure land. Once the spirit vein gets upgraded again, I can create a sun and moon environment and raise some spiritual pets. Lu Changxing, stroking his chin, surveyed his small household while contemplating future plans. Just then, a surge of mana and robust vitality entered his body out of nowhere. 7th level energy refinement, this is the 4th layer of the 100 refinements treasure body art? It seems Pingan has also encountered some kind of fortunate adventure outside. Lu Changxing had a rough idea about his children's cultivation progress. If it had been just the 7th level energy refinement, he wouldn't have been sure who it was, he would have to check the system. But a simultaneous breakthrough in both body refinement and energy refinement, and at this level, could only be his son, Lu Pingan. None of his daughters at home who practiced body refinement were at a level worth mentioning yet. Only Lu Pingan had made some progress with the 100 refinements treasure body art, having broken through to the 3rd layer last year. To now have broken through to the 4th layer within just a year definitely indicated he had gained some opportunities. Regarding this, Lu Changxing was not overly concerned. After all, if there were no gains to be had from traveling outside, such journeys would be meaningless. After the two little ones were nearly done drinking, Lu Changxing picked them up, walked out of the Mount Sumeru cave heaven, handed them over to a maid to coax into sleep, and then went to practice the sun-moon samsara technique with Lu Miaoge. It must have been due to the Tai Xing Shui Ju, as among Luo Miaoge, Xiaoxia, Ling Zixiao, and by Ling, Lu Miaoge had the best performance with the sun-moon samsara technique. Next was Xiaoxia. But the difference in effect between the two women was not large. This led Lu Changxing to speculate that the reason for Lu Miaoge was the Tai Xing Shui Ju, and for Xiaoxia, it was the Tai moonlight she had integrated when he was condensing his Tao foundation. This not only manifested with the sun-moon samsara technique. The yin-yang energies of his own Tao foundation also nourished the four women differently. In this regard, Lu Changxing was reminded of the nascent soul female cultivator who had battled with him fiercely for 3 days and nights years ago. Even though they had not met again after that battle, Lu Changxing still remembered her vividly. After all, those 3 days and nights had left a deep impression on him. Of course, the main reason was the strand of spirit-nurturing energy she had bestowed on him. His 7 luminaries Dao foundation was able to transform into a yin-yang 5 elements foundation base mainly due to this strand of spirit-nurturing energy. Without it, Xiaoxia's Taiyin moonlight and the great sun essence of the golden crow elixir would not have been able to maintain balance, let alone cause his Dao foundation to transform. This made Lu Changxing speculate that if he were to engage in dual cultivation with her, the effects would undoubtedly be excellent. However, with such things, he just gave it a thought. Without breaking through core formation, there was no way he would contact her. Who knows what her attitude toward him would be or whether it would bring trouble. Mr. Lu always preferred to take the initiative rather than be passive. A month later. Baiyun Peak, Mingyue residence. Lu Changxing was instructing his daughter Lu Wangshu in the 99 mystical talisman scripture. Although the number of children at home was increasing, this little darling had always been very dear to him. Lu Wangshu, though usually playful and of average interest in cultivation, was still quite remarkable. With 7th level energy refinement and a first-grade high-quality talisman master. In body refinement, she had relied on talismans absorbed into her body to passively reach the 2nd level. At her age, such cultivation levels and skills were enough to be called a prodigy. Just at that moment, a powerful force of physical strength entered Lu Changxing's body and integrated into his limbs and bones. Congratulations to the host, the first of your offspring has broken through to 2nd order body refining, earning you 1 high-level draw opportunity. 2nd order body refining? What is this all about, Wuxia World? Site. Co. Chapter 921, True Immortal Level Technique. The first drop of myriad spirits heaven dew. Lu Changxing was startled when he heard this system notification, somewhat dumbfounded. Could it be that Pingan's 100 refinements treasure body art has broken through to the 5th layer? Lu Changxing's expression cleared up slightly as he roughly guessed what had happened. 2nd order body refining corresponded to the 5th layer of the 100 refinements treasure body art. The problem was, a month ago, his son Lu Pingan had only broken through to the 4th layer. He could understand taking a year to break from the 3rd to the 4th layer. But 1 month to break from the 4th to the 5th layer was beyond his understanding. Although Lu Pingan was cultivating the 100 refinements treasure body art and had condensed a magical treasure into his body, the breakthrough to the 5th layer was only a matter of time. Yet, this speed was indeed astonishing. It seems that Pingan has encountered no ordinary opportunity. Lu Changxing narrowed his eyes and thought to himself, very eager to know what was happening with his son Lu Pingan. However, what excited him most was that with Pingan's breakthrough in body refinement to the 2nd order, the system had even thrown in some child money for an advanced level draw. This was an unexpected delight. Does this mean if Chuanjin or Qing Shan broke through to foundation establishment, the system would probably do something similar with this kind of child money? Lu Changxing felt a little expectant. Daddy? Seeing her father suddenly fall into a trance, Lu Wangshu called out softly. I was just thinking about something. Let's continue. This spiritual pattern has 365 variations, Lu Changxing said with a smile. Daddy, if you have things to do, you can go ahead. We can always study next time. Lu Wangshu said, her face full of understanding and care. No matter how big the matter, it can't delay my precious daughter's studies, Lu Changxing, well aware of what his daughter was thinking, replied with a fatherly affection. Humph. Lu Wangshu snorted softly, wanting to say something, but Lu Changxing tapped her head, and she obediently watched the continuously transforming spiritual patterns in front of her. As time slowly passed, after teaching 3 runes, Lu Changxing stood up and left. Take care, Daddy. Lu Wangshu said cheerily. Heh. Lu Changxing shook his head and chuckled, feeling that if his daughter, innately talented and mentally gifted, would sincerely cultivate, she could have broken through the 6th level of energy refinement long ago. and possibly made further progress in the talisman path as well. However, considering his own inconsistent practices of cultivation, he had no grounds to preach to his daughter. It's not like he could say, "I have a system, you don't, right?" Then his daughter would surely wrap her arm around his, pouting adorably and saying, "But I have you as my daddy, right?" Back at the mountaintop of Baiyun Peak, Lu Changxing whispered inwardly, "System. Name, Lu Pingan, lifespan, 35 of 117, talent, 5th grade spiritual root, cultivation level, 7th level energy refinement, talent, body refining compatibility, 49%, doesn't it display anything about body refinement?" Lu Changxing, looking at the system panel, recalled that his interface also didn't show anything about body refinement. Each generation has its own luck, and I share in their blessings too. He didn't mind, took a deep breath, released it, and with great anticipation said, "System, draw." Ordinary draws no longer surprised him. But he was still full of anticipation for an advanced level draw. Immediately, the advanced level draw roulette appeared, radiating golden light. Moments later, the golden light paused and landed on the Cultivation Technique Classics reward section. Ding! Congratulations to the host for acquiring the Cultivation Technique, Brahma Demon True Saint Technique. The reward has been placed in the system space, and the host can check it at any time. A pattern of a Cultivation Technique jade scroll emerged from the draw board, accompanied by a system notification sound. A Cultivation Technique, Brahma Demon True Saint Technique. Lu Changxing, seeing this cultivation technique, had his heart skip a beat. For ordinary draws that yielded peripheral sect level and orthodox level cultivation techniques, he had lost interest. Even if he got them, they would mostly just serve to enrich the sutra pavilion at home. But the cultivation techniques in an advanced level draw tended to surpass orthodox level. However, this technique doesn't look like a regular one. Lu Changxing thought to himself and looked toward the system space. Cultivation Technique, Brahma Demon True Saint Technique, Grade, True Immortal Level, Description, a body refining technique created by the merging of the Buddha, demon, and magical beasts by the ancient demon Buddha Pasun. The cultivation conditions are extremely demanding, requiring simultaneous cultivation of Buddhism and demon paths, using the demonic Tao origin, heavenly demon blood, and Buddhist relic for marrow cleansing to cultivate. True Immortal Level. Lu Changxing, seeing the grade, was ecstatic. He had previously heard from Hong Lian that above orthodox level techniques, such as the beast technique cultivated by Su Rian, were called profound mystery level techniques. And this true immortal level was clearly far superior, potentially leading to divinity. However, this technique doesn't seem easy to cultivate. Lu Changxing, looking at the description of the technique, narrowed his eyes. System, Inheritance. Without much thought, he activated the technique with a small motion of his mental spirit. Immediately. Regarding the Brahma Demon True Saint technique, detailed contents and methods of cultivation poured into Lu Changxing's mind like divine insight. Lu Changxing sat cross-legged under the Mount Sumra tree, with a dignified appearance, his mind immersed, quietly realizing this true immortal level technique. After an unknown amount of time, Lu Changxing awoke as if from a dream. Brahma Demon True Saint Technique, what a technique indeed, worthy of being a true immortal level technique. Lu Changxing exhaled deeply, murmuring to himself. Through this technique, he also gained some other information. For example, beyond the known realms of energy refinement, foundation establishment, core formation, nascent soul, and divinity transformation, there were the three great realms of returning void, union, and Mahayana. And this Brahma Demon True Saint technique was one that could cultivate to divinity. Aside from being able to directly cultivate to divinity, its power and effects were also far superior to any technique he currently had. It included various mighty effects and divine skills, such as Demon God Spear, Great Bright King Light Aspect, Extinction Divine Eye, Brahma Demon Holy Body, Brahma Demon True Body, Light Dark Demon Buddha Barrier, Wuxia World. Sight. Co. Chapter 922, True Immortal Level Technique, the first drop of myriad spirits heaven dew. Seeing Lu Changxing couldn't help but marvel, no wonder it was a true immortal level technique. However, in terms of difficulty, it wasn't just demanding, it was downright outrageous. Firstly, one needed to have achieved third-order body refining as a foundation to even attempt this cultivation technique. Then, one also needed to simultaneously cultivate both the demonic path cultivation technique and the Buddhist sect cultivation technique. With these basic requirements in place, one could then try to cultivate the Brahma demon true saint technique. During the process, it was necessary to consume demonic Dao origin, heavenly demon blood, and Buddhist relic for marrow cleansing body refinement to succeed in the cultivation. This demonic Dao origin could be understood as the golden core origin of demonic path cultivators. Heavenly demon blood came from a heavenly rank bloodline demon beast at 3rd rank. As for the Buddhist relic, it was the entirety of origin source left behind when a nascent soul Buddhist cultivator voluntarily entered a state of passing away. Thus, seeing all these requirements, Lu Changsheng was left speechless. He knew he could only look at this technique wistfully. It wasn't just about demonic Dao origin, heavenly demon blood, or Buddhist relic. He hadn't even met the basic requirement of third-order body refining. Plus, the methods of the demonic path and Buddhist sect are inherently incompatible. Practicing them together is certainly risky. So, a normal person simply can't cultivate this technique. Lu Changxing shook his head and sighed, not knowing what to say at the moment. Such a precious advanced draw, obtaining an incredibly powerful technique. Yet he couldn't cultivate it himself, and could only look on. But it's not that there's no way to cultivate it. Once I break through to the core formation, it might be possible to gather these requirements. Lu Changxing thought obtaining third-order body refining in the future wouldn't be difficult. As for cultivating both demonic and Buddhist techniques, he now had the 12 capital demon divine technique, and if he could just procure a Buddhist technique through the system's inheritance and understanding of techniques, he should be able to manage it. As for the 3 requirements for marrow cleansing body refinement, forget it, I'll just cultivate the sun-moon samsara technique instead. Lu Changxing suddenly felt utterly listless and headed back to Changxing Hall for comfort. Only the soft snow carpet could now warm the sorrow in his heart. In a mountain forest. Inside a humble thatched cottage. Where am I? Lu Pingan opened his eyes, examined his surroundings, and tried to recall his situation. He vaguely remembered that he was being treated for poisoning and then heard a female voice. Suddenly, a centipede appeared in front of him, bit him, and his entire body stiffened up, unable to move. Then a toad entered his stomach. Thinking of this, Lu Pingan was horrified and immediately checked his body. But he found that his condition was better than it had ever been. Not only was the poison cured, but his body was also filled with strength, as if he could punch through the sky dome. What's going on? Lu Pingan continued to recall, remembering how his consciousness gradually blurred, as if falling into a dark abyss when a speck of starlight appeared. Then, somehow, a strength arose from somewhere and he instinctively operated the 100 Refinements treasure body art. It was the orb that Father used to give birth to my spiritual root. Lu Pingan was profoundly shaken. He knew that having a spiritual root was due to that orb. Unexpectedly, when he faced mortal danger this time, the orb appeared again. Not only saving his life but also turning his disaster into a tremendous increase in power. As long as there is hope in the heart, miracles can happen, never give up. Lu Pingan remembered these words his father had given him. They told him to persevere through anything, never to despair or give up. Now looking back, he immediately realized, these words referred to that orb. As long as he persisted, did not give up, the light would illuminate him and help him. What exactly is this orb, not only granting me a spiritual root but also having such mystical effects? Lu Pingan was astonished. Having cultivated for so many years, the more he learned, the more apparent the astonishing nature of his spiritual root became. But now he realized that his father did more than just grant him the spiritual root. At that moment, his mood grew heavier, and he felt a more profound sense of responsibility. His father possessed such a cherished treasure but did not use it for himself. There were many siblings in his family, many of whom were more talented than him. Yet his father had given it to him, and as the eldest son, he had failed to set a good example. Creak. At that moment, the wooden door was gently pushed open. A petite girl with her hair tied up in a bun, her appearance fresh and lovely, dressed in a red skirt appeared at the doorway. Big brother, you're awake?" The girl saw Lu Pingan on the couch and exclaimed surprised and delighted. "Miss, did you save me?" Lu Pingan looked towards the girl, vaguely remembering her voice. "When I was in a dazed state, it seemed like I heard the young girl calling out Xiao Gua, and asking grandma to save me." "No, not at all, big brother, you recovered on your own." The girl waved her hand, her voice crisp, somewhat embarrassed. "Still, I should thank you. If it weren't for you, I might have been carried off by a wild beast." Lu Pingan showed a hearty smile on his face and stood up to bow in thanks to the girl. "Miss, what eventually happened to the centipede and the vermilion toad that entered my body?" Lu Pingan thought of the two poisonous creatures that had entered his body and still felt a shiver, asking out loud. "Grandma said Xiao Gua and the ironback centipede have formed a balance inside your body." The girl's words trailed off, a downcast expression appearing on her little face. Lu Changsheng, upon hearing this, remembered that the 100 Refinements treasure body art had automatically activated, seemingly refining the centipede and the vermilion toad. Unexpectedly, he was able to make continual breakthroughs in this way with the 100 Refinements treasure body art. "I'm so sorry, so sorry." Lu Pingan instantly expressed with a face full of apologies. Learning that not only did they save him, but also involved their pets, he felt extremely awkward, unsure of what to do. "It's all right, big brother, as long as you are fine." The girl was still somewhat downcast, but knowing that it was irreversible, a faint smile appeared on her face as she said, "I am called Ruan." She had just begun to speak when a cough was heard. "My name is Su Jior, big brother, what is your name?" The girl pursed her lips slightly and spoke, revealing that she had two names. This one was her nickname. "My name is Lu Pingan." Lu Pingan responded. Though he always used a false name when outside, since they had saved him, he did not want to deceive them. "Lu Pingan, does it mean to be safe and sound?" The girl quietly repeated his name twice, tilting her head to inquire. She was innocent and simple, not overthinking, thus speaking whatever came to her mind. "Yes, my father hoped that I would always be safe and sound." Lu Pingan nodded. He had known the meaning of his name from a young age. At that time, the names of his younger brothers and sisters in the family all bore similar meanings: safe and sound, happy and joyous, carefree. "My parents also wish for me always to be safe and sound," the girl said crisply. The two started a somewhat stilted conversation. Meanwhile, outside the thatched cottage in the distance, an old woman with snowy white hair watched from afar. "Lu Pingan. This Jiang country doesn't seem to have the Lu family, perhaps like the old master, he was sent to Jiang country for refuge and training." The old woman's eyes reflected contemplation. Although she was not a cultivator from Jiang country, she was aware of such situations. Except for the Heavenly Sword sect which had a nascent soul true lord stationed, the other major powers were all at the nascent soul level. For someone like Lu Pingan, in her view, he likely originated from a family. "This young man doesn't seem cunning, he could indeed engage with the young miss." The old woman quietly observed the conversation between Lu Pingan and Su Jior, not interrupting them. Time flew, and in the blink of an eye, 4 months passed. During this time, Lu Changsheng's life hadn't undergone much change, remaining plain and unembellished. However, because of practicing the sun-moon samsara technique, it affected his ability to procreate, resulting in only 2 offspring in 4 months. "Master," one day, the voice of Mount Sumeru echoed in Lu Changsheng's mind, informing him that the myriad spirits heaven dew in the myriad spirits bottle had condensed. Hearing this, Lu Changsheng was pleasantly surprised. He had long awaited the effects of the myriad spirits bottle and was eager. Lu Changsheng immediately went to the mountaintop and took the myriad spirits bottle in his hands. The myriad spirits bottle, now containing a drop of myriad spirits heaven dew, showed no change. But looking inside with divine sense, one could see a drop of emerald green, jade-like glistening liquid, precisely the myriad spirits heaven dew. I wonder if this drop of myriad spirits heaven dew is enough to help Yuner achieve foundation establishment. Lu Chengxing had already planned to use the first drop of myriad spirits heaven dew for the luminous treasure tree. On one hand, the Lu family did plant many spiritual medicines, but none that were rare. And as for Mount Sumerus words, after several decades, it estimated no significant change. The auspicious tree and the abyssal ghoul blossom were still in the process of refinement, so he decided to first try on the luminous treasure tree. If successful, the family would also have another foundation establishment cultivator. Yuner. Lu Chengxing immediately called his wife Lu Miaoyun over to explain the matter of the myriad spirits heaven dew. This kind of treasure, although secretive, he would not hide from his wives now. Wuxia World. Site. Co.